Welcome in as we broadcast live. Oh, my voice is not so good. From the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Charlie used another side of the glass. Charlie, got stuff coming up today. Ben Worgull, Badgers on SI. I follow him on X at the Badger Nation. Been around a long time. We'll talk to Ben Worgull about the red-hot Wisconsin Badgers taking down another top team over the weekend. My goodness gracious. Stephen Gillaspie will join us from No Ceilings. Substack covers the NBA, does a lot of great work on the NBA draft and stuff. And I was looking at some mock drafts this week and getting excited by where the Bucks currently sit as far as who they may be able to get, even though they're winning basketball games. I started getting excited. I was like, well, I know everybody may not be Bucks fans, but I love drafts. I love the MLB draft, the NBA draft, the NFL draft. I need some NBA draft talk because we're getting closer to the tournament here. So those of you that don't know these guys, you're going to know them when you start watching for your brackets. You're going to start learning all about them.
I feel like you don't like the actual drafts. You just like the mock drafts. You like doing the mock part.
Love it.
I'm surprised you don't play more like Madden or 2K or anything where you can have franchises and do the drafts. You could just send the whole season and just do the off season the whole time. I'm surprised you don't do that more.
No, I would always play the games in the regular season. But yes, I used to play that all the time or whatever. Now with kids and everything, I have.
But your son's starting to play those types of games. He's starting to do that, so you can do it with him.
He does. And once in a while, he asks me to come up there and play, and then I'll play a game, and then I'll go back downstairs. You want to know what the most annoying part about my kid is right now that drives me nuts? Dad, come up here. Dad, come up here. I got to show you something. Okay. So I go up there. Hey, look, this is what I'm going to do. Sounds good. And then it doesn't happen. It doesn't work. I was like, you do this every time. Oh, I'm going to do this. And then I walk away. Oh, it just happened. Well,
of course.
Not sitting here for 20 minutes.
Have him move his console downstairs so that you can just be right there and see what happens.
No, absolutely not. So Stephen Gillaspie, we're going to get off of this before he gives any more ideas out there. From No Ceilings, he'll join us coming up at 3:20. Looking forward to that. A bunch of dudes getting released around the National Football League. We'll get into that during our Green and Gold update coming up at 4 o'clock. And, of course, Charlie Sounds of the Day at 3:40. Got to start off with Green Bay and Milwaukee basketball. Now, this is what I am here to tell you. Doug Gottlieb is on Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Wednesday mornings at 8 o'clock with our Inside Wisconsin Sports Morning Show. Trevor Thomas, Josh Albrecht, they do a great job. That is must-listen-to radio, Doug on Wednesdays. And Doug Gottlieb and his Green Bay Phoenix, they lost to the Milwaukee Panthers over the weekend. Questionable refereeing probably would be sufficient to say. And Doug Gottlieb became unhinged in his post-game presser in Milwaukee. Check this out.
I need the league to explain to me why I got a technical foul when I did not curse. I was not demonstrative. I did not leave my box. All I said was, that's the same play as the other end. Okay? All we ask is that there's a fair game. That's what we ask. Okay, CJ O'Hara goes and gets an offensive rebound. Their player dives at his legs. CJ gets called for a foul. I need Donnie at the league and the new commissioner to explain to me the disparity in the officiating. That's what I need explained to me. I got no problem with their team, their staff. They played hard. They did what they do. They play tough and they play aggressive. I need somebody to explain to me, okay, how just those two. There's others that I have massive issues with, okay? Others that have including every time we touched them, there was a foul in the second half. The last play of the game, just to get the ball, they're grabbing us and holding us. Okay, and I understand. If you're not calling that, that's fine. You had the exact same play at both ends in the last play of the game. The exact same play. The exact same play.
He lost it. Now, he later apologized at the end for swearing because he gathered his senses and so forth. The question that Charlie and I have is this. For you. Didn't have to watch the game to answer this question. Don't have to know circumstances. Just tell me this. If you were running a university, chancellor, maybe the athletic director, right? Is this acceptable to you? Is what Doug did there, that post-game press conference, acceptable to you? Now, the Kansas State head coach that got fired. Charlie played sound of that from last week. And that dude threw everybody under the bus except himself. I mean, threw the kids under the bus and so forth. Then said he was having a 6 a.m. practice the next morning. And I looked at Charlie and said, you think any of them are going? After he just ran them over with a bus in that press
conference. Already
conference.
Putting their names in the transfer portal, yeah.
Right. So that was last week. Then the weekend comes and he starts talking about victims or victors or whatever and goes on another rant. And then they said, okay, we're done. We're done with this. We're not dealing with you anymore. See ya. Bye-bye. This here by Doug Gottlieb is not that in my opinion. But what do you think? If you were running a university, is this acceptable to you? Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. On the socials at WI Sports Radio. Apparently, X is having some issues with live streaming based on what we're seeing. So we may or may not be up at this point, but we are definitely up.
It's just not doing that post like we've been complaining about.
Correct.
Radio things.
But we're there. You can find us also on definitely on YouTube. That I do know for sure at WI Sports Radio. Also can stream us the audio version, wisportsradio.com. So, first off, we weren't on the court to hear what Doug actually said to this referee. We have Doug's side. I don't know what the referee said. But if Doug is being honest, and I don't see why he would lie about this, if he didn't swear and he wasn't throwing his hands up in the air and running around like a madman screaming and yelling at somebody, and he just said that was the same play on the other end that you just called, and they teed him up, yeah, that's that ain't right. And I guess my response to that would be, well, Doug, how much of this has to do with prior reputation that you have with this said referee, right? Because as we've said before, they have emotions, right? So if you've been an idiot to this referee previously, and this referee is just looking for a reason to do something to you, then that's it. Now, is it correct? No, it's not correct. Absolutely not. And Doug should be mad. And Doug should be mad if they're not calling holding calls and so forth. The last time Green Bay played Milwaukee in Green Bay, leading into that game, Doug Gottlieb was on this Wisconsin Sports Radio Network talking about the idea that they are super physical, Milwaukee. They're going to bang on you. They're going to hold you. That's their style of play. That's how they play. And you have to be ready to match that physicality. Otherwise, you're going to get beat. You have to match it. Okay. As with the NBA, it's no different in college basketball. From this perspective, hey, man, Giannis keeps getting fouled. And the referee goes, if I blew my whistle, somebody hacked at Giannis, every play I'd be blowing my whistle. And I'm not doing that. So too bad, so sad to Giannis and Shaq and so forth, but it is what it is. And when you have these ultra aggressive physical teams, they're not blowing the whistle every time they grab or hold or whatever. They're just not going to do it because it's happening throughout the game. That's their identity. Will they blow a whistle sometimes for egregious ones? Sure. But they establish that identity throughout the beginning of the year till now. So I don't think Doug Gottlieb was surprised that they weren't blowing the whistle. But after getting teed up and how that whole thing played out and cost him the game, I get why he was mad and everything else. Now, if he doesn't swear at the end, nobody's talking about this. To Doug Gottlieb, I say, you should have done that. I have no problem with him swearing at the end of that because this is how this gets viral. This is how everybody is talking about it. He doesn't swear. It goes away. We're done. Nobody's talking about it. Drops an F-bomb, whatever. All of a sudden, now everybody wants to talk about it, right? Now we've got the attention of everybody. And that's what that was all about. Doug wanted to flag attention to what he perceives as a situation that needs to be fixed and cleaned up here at some point. So I think what Doug did is more than acceptable. And if I'm the athletic director or if I'm the chancellor, I look at it and go, I got no problem with this. He wasn't calling out boosters. He wasn't demoralizing and killing, kids verbally in a post-game presser. I have no issue with how he went about being upset. And a lot of times, you are going to have guys that are going to be upset and are going to lose control of their emotions, whether it be on the floor or in a post-game presser. It's not like Doug screams and yells and swears every press conference. That's not what this is. But clearly he felt he needed to get this done and did it.
I can also see from some other people's perspective why this can be seen as a tantrum, and a guy that has had an up and down career with UW Green Bay so far, and why he may feel like personally he could be on a tiny bit of a hot seat at least, but that to the people running this university, they see something like this. And yeah, I would say personally, I agree with you, but other people may look at this and say, this is just constant. He's a guy who has cameras on him all the time. He is the biggest name in the Little Horizon League at any given moment, no matter if his team's bad or not, because he has that journalist background to him that put him on the map in the first place. This is something where if you have that big of a personality and you have been, I guess, looked at and frowned upon in the past season for your emotions getting the best of you, I would be a little frustrated as a university as to why you're, again, going out here and showing your emotions full blast all the time. We get it. There's an issue with the refs, but I think Bart Lundy, and he puts it in his tweet after the game here, 4,500 fans. It may not mean much to most out there, but with our injuries and struggles this year, it is so appreciated. Love you all for your support. Milwaukee's fans who stick with us through thick and thin, thank you. Our guys fought. Don't let anything distract you from that. We respect our opponent, but we fought for 40 minutes. We executed and we guarded. We rebounded, we ran the floor, and we did the hard stuff. When it's something like that, where he obviously kind of read that as a little disrespectful to him and his team, that he's just going out there automatically blaming the refs right away, not saying that Milwaukee went out there and beat them.
He hold on now. In that press conference, Doug did say, hey, Bart Lundy, his coaching staff did a good job, blah, 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 blah. This is about the referees. So he did, in the press conference, even though that's not the part that's gone viral, he did, I don't know if you give them flowers, but did recognize that, look, they did what they were supposed to do. They coached it up. They weren't blowing the whistle. So you take advantage of what's being blown and not blown. Makes sense.
Yeah, but if I hear that, oh, he took advantage of the refs not blowing the whistles, that situations like that, again, that tells me that, like, that's a little disrespectful. That's a little bit of a backhanded compliment. The same way that when you hear Nate Oates talk about, oh, we're just taking advantage of the system, we're signing these NBA players, a lot of people look at that and say, well, that's just, yeah, I guess you're right, but you're wrong. Yes. Morally, you're wrong in that situation. I can see why some people above Bart Lundy or above Gottlieb in this situation may see that as, again, taking a shot from a guy that doesn't deserve to be taking shots right now.
I think there was a huge improvement from year one to year two this year. Like, no question, a huge improvement. Gottlieb has turned this program around from obviously where it was. The thing that hurts about this is if he gets that win, they're at 11 wins, and only Wright State has more in the Horizon League at 12. Now, 10-win teams, Green Bay's 10-7, Robin Morris 10-7, Oakland 10-6, and then behind them, Purdue Fort Wayne 9-7, Detroit Mercy 9-7. It's all jumbled up there. That was a huge loss for Green Bay as far as Horizon League conference tournament standings and so forth, and who gets the buy and who doesn't get the buy and all of that. That was a game I'm sure Doug was like, we should have won that game. Like, they screwed us. We should have won that game. And I get it. Again, everybody is different in how they want their head coach to act and so forth and all of that. I'm just saying, and again, you pretty much agree with me, that from my perspective, I have no issue with this. Now, if this becomes every game he's screaming and yelling about refs screwing the Green Bay, then yes, okay, that's enough. Let's move on. Right? He's using it every game. That's not what happened.
It just feels like he hits extremes, though. When he does feel like this, it's automatically to the bottom of the bucket for him, which I think is not how you should go about it all the time. I think in a game like this, yes, okay, I get it. Yeah, your emotions get the best of you, because you're right. It did have big implications towards March moving forward here. But 2 months ago, when he's throwing a stool around, I know he comes out and jokes about it afterwards because it wasn't that big of a deal, because he knew it wasn't that big of a deal. He can come out and joke about it. These are things that are happening time and time again in situations that aren't as meaningful as this one. So that's why it might be an issue.
From the 608 on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line, ho-hum, who's got the biggest man crush on UW Green Bay basketball and Doug Gottlieb, Trevor or Sparky? Dude,
Trevor.
I don't. Yeah, that's
Trevor.
I mean, yes, listen, stop. I don't even know Doug Gottlieb. I've never talked to Doug Gottlieb in my life. I don't have the first clue about Doug Gottlieb. The Green Bay Phoenix, no. I don't have a crush on them whatsoever. I'm just telling you, from my perspective, having covered sports for pretty much my entire life since I've been in the business, that wasn't a big deal to me. And I get why he did it. I totally understand why he did it. Some of it was frustration and some of it was for effect to make sure that this doesn't continue whenever the Phoenix are playing somebody that's more physical than them. Makes sense. I mean, this very well could come up when get to the Horizon League tournament again. If he gets Milwaukee again, he wants to make sure to set precedent of, listen, we talked about this the last time. Y'all better blow the whistle this time. I pointed this out the last time they played him. Again, I just think some of this is setting up for the future. All right, Ben Worgull covers Badgers basketball, Badgers on SI. He joins us next. Talk about the red hot Wisconsin Badgers, now in the top 25. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here.
rebound, Wisconsin. It's going to be a long Friday night here in Madtown.
Here comes the students, Jason.
A big win for the Wisconsin Badgers, 92-71. Highlight courtesy of Fox. Badgers upset Michigan State, now ranked 24th and 25th, depending on what poll you want to look at, whether it be the AP poll or the coaches poll. But the Badgers now in the top 25 in both. Joining us now to talk about that on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. He is right there, Ben Worgull, Badgers on SI. Follow him on X at the Badger Nation. Ben, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I don't hear Ben. Am I doing something wrong? I hope I'm not. Nope. I don't hear him.
I am not hearing him either. He's unmuted on StreamYard and everything.
All right, we'll try the phone then.
All right.
Not a big deal. I know it doesn't matter to me. So we'll get Ben on the phone. But a big win for the Badgers. Now, listen, I mean, part of this, and we talked about this last week, was the idea of when you get to the NCAA tournament, you have to have good guard play. And you look at that game against Michigan State, Blackwell and Boyd both doing their thing. Blackwell in that game, 24 points, 4 boards, couple of assists. Boyd, 29, 4, and 3. Plus, Boyd had that sick crossover. Dude fell down. He hit the jumper in his face. That was sweet. There was a lot of good things in that game. I could not believe, as I was watching that game, that they owned Michigan State the way they did. Like, I was really shocked that they owned them. And then after the game is all done, you know, Izzo is pretty much just like, yeah, we just got a butt kick. Like, there's not much more to this. They pretty much just absolutely kicked our butt. And that was exactly right. That's pretty much what happened. I think the other part of this too, and we've talked about this as far as, look, when they're hitting their threes, the Badgers basketball team is going to be something very difficult, right? They're going to be difficult to contend with when they're hitting their shots. So that's not too surprising as well. I think for me, the bigger thing when you sit here and you look at this game as far as what all happened, I mean, Fears Jr. with only 14 points, 3 of 12 from the field. He did have 12 assists, but that's their guy. That's the guy that they rely on to score, and he really was not a factor in this game, and he really struggled from the field. They shot 36% from the field at Michigan State. Badgers obviously did way better than that. But again, 15 of 35 from 3. Your backcourt was 9 of 16 from 3-point range. If they're 9 from 16 from 3-point range in the NCAA tournament, you're going to win a bunch of basketball games. You're going to be in a position to make a run in the Big Ten tournament. You're going to make have a chance to potentially, get out of the first weekend of the NCAA tournament as well. All right, now joining us on the phone, he is Ben Worgull, Badgers on SI on X at the Badger Nation. Ben, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure.
Hey, all right, so we were just talking about this with the Badgers, and I had talked about this last week. If you're going to make a run in the NCAA tournament, normally you have to have really good guard play and a big that does something significant on a game-in, game-out basis. And it feels like this Badgers team potentially might have that right now as you look at them today.
Yeah, they're starting to get some confidence in some other guys too. I mean, you knew coming into the season that Wisconsin was going to have kind of a big three with John Blackwell, Nolan Winter, and Nick Boyd, and certainly those three have kind of carried the torch for a good portion of the season. But now you're starting to see other pieces kind of step up to the plate, and really it started, I would want to say, mid-December when they lost in Milwaukee to Villanova, and basically that those three played well and everyone else did not. And Greg Gard basically said, this is the standard. You have to come and meet the standard. Otherwise you're not going to play. And, he didn't call out anyone in particular, but you could tell that message was directed towards Braden Carrington. It was directed towards Austin Rapp,
Yep.
Alexis Biliauskas. It was directed to a lot of these guys who maybe helped maybe on the score sheet every now and then, but they're not doing the little things. They're not rebounding. They're not playing within the system. They're defensive liabilities. And really, since I want to say the victory over UCLA, January 6th or 7th, somewhere in there, that's really when this team turned a corner. They had just were coming off that embarrassing loss to Purdue. And Nick Boyd basically said, we just need to get one. We need to get one, and we can start feeling good about ourselves, and we can keep building momentum here, and they've won 9 of 11 since with 3 top 10 wins. And you're seeing guys like Rapp have much better performances, not just scoring and shooting the ball, but getting into the paint, being active in the rim, defensively, blocking shots, contesting shots. You're seeing Braden Carrington be a little bit better defensively. You're seeing him drive to the rim, something he hasn't done much this year. I think he only has 7 or 8 2-point makes this entire season. And you're starting to see a guy like Alexis Bielauskas, who is a freshman from Lithuania. It's a huge adjustment, start to get a little bit more comfortable with the physicality of the league. And when you have all those other guys contributing, that opens up the offense so much wider for guys like Boyd and Blackwell to create, to get to the rim. And for Winter, who's just having an insanely good, underrated season with his ability to score and rebound. He's shooting like 70-some%. I might even be selling him short from 2-point range this year. Those 3 are doing a great job, but the pieces around them are the reason why Wisconsin's on this run that they're on.
What about from a leadership perspective in that locker room? I would have to imagine Blackwell coming back is a huge part of it. And even Boyd, I would imagine, is probably one of the leaders in that locker room. Like you mentioned earlier, pointing out the fact of, hey, let's get one and we can get ourselves on a little bit of a run. And then they did. It's getting a little bit lucky that Blackwell comes back probably, but then using the portal the right way did Greg Gard.
Yeah, Greg's used the portal the right way the last couple seasons. They only brought in 3 guys last year, but you hit on John Tonje, who was really overlooked by a lot of different pieces. He was minutes from signing with New Mexico in the portal. He told me he literally was about to put pen to paper, and then Wisconsin reached out again and really showed interest. And he thought, man, Big Ten, maybe I can take my game at that level. And it was a big hit, and it worked because Tonje was a veteran guy who had played a lot of basketball and was coming into a veteran locker room with guys like Max Klesman and with Stephen Krall. And I mean, all those guys from last year's team, and it meshed really well. There was good leadership there. This year, there was only 3 guys from the 10-man rotation who played on Wisconsin last year, but you had a leader in Winter and you had a leader in Blackwell. John is more of a quiet type guy. Doesn't talk a lot, usually lets his play do the talking. He'll speak up when necessary, but very humble, very soft-spoken, but is one of those guys that is willing to shoulder the brunt of the offense. And he did that at points at the beginning of the season. But you bring in Boyd, New York kid, got that brash attitude, very emotional player, plays a little bit out of control at times, but makes those great plays that really energize. You see him often during games, egging on the crowd. Let's get louder here. Help us out here. That's just kind of the emotional on-court leader that Wisconsin was looking for to run the point position. And then you kind of dabble in other spots too. You lose 2 really good bench guys in Kamari McGee and Carter Gilmore. You need to fortify the bench. You bring in a guy like Carrington, who played at Minnesota, who's played at Tulsa last year. He's played a lot of college basketball. You kind of build up that. You bring in some really good freshmen who have high upside to start to get them minutes to kind of contribute in different ways. Everyone who Greg Gard has recruited was recruited for a specific reason. It wasn't always scoring. Sometimes it was defense. Sometimes it was just a locker room fit. And it took a little while because of all these new pieces needing to come together. And they didn't, they had some tough bumps early in the year where they get, waxed by BYU and Salt Lake by 28. You lose to a good Nebraska team by 30. The game against Purdue, you lose by 16, but it was really uncompetitive. You let one slip away against Villanova. I mean, this team needed to be calloused a little bit and learn how to play together. And once it started to click, you see the result. What we've seen here the last month or so is that they're playing really good, cohesive basketball, not just on the offensive end, but on the defensive end. I heard you talk about what they did to Fears. Michigan State's not a great shooting team. That's not their MO. They win because they're good defensively and they rebound. And Wisconsin just took their game and shoved it right back down their throats. And that's the reason why that game was so uncompetitive for the most part, because Wisconsin really clicked defensively in a way that we haven't seen them done this year. And so that's all encouraging signs going into this final 6-game stretch of the regular season for them.
Talking with Ben Worgull, Badgers on SI. Follow him on X at the Badger Nation. Joining us here, Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. After that game was done, Tom Izzo in his post-game presser talked about Greg Gard, being, maybe underrated and so forth, but really talked about the idea of how, that offense used to play with Greg Gard and how he kind of reinvented himself and kind of changed the way they played. And and changed it over the last, several years. Now, obviously, Kirk Penny, when he was there, gets a lot of credit for how this offense has evolved and changed. But Greg Gard deserves some flowers because some guys will just be like, nope, this is my system. I'm not changing no matter what. And he was willing to be flexible and change with the times.
Yeah, he knew the times are changing because of all the rule changes in college basketball to kind of expand scoring. I mean, taking out the block charge rule, really kind of taking out hand checking. I mean, it kind of de-emphasized really good defense. And that was Wisconsin's MO for 20, plus years under, Bo's leadership and then early in Greg's tenure, that it got to the point where, once Wisconsin kind of got out of conference, you play these other teams, and being a good defensive team didn't really matter a ton when you're not making shots. And, the loss a couple years ago at Providence was kind of the turning point of this whole evolution of Wisconsin basketball. They had just lost to Tennessee. They're playing a Providence team that, that was okay, but a team that Wisconsin was much more talented than, and they just got blown off. They got blown off with offense, with hustle. It was just a really poor performance. And I believe it was because of weather, the plane was delayed. And I had to kind of all sit around here for a little bit. And the coaching staff basically held together and said, are we going to do this? Are we going to go all in on this? And Kirk had been bringing kind of some ideas, and they kind of were thinking about different hybrids of it. And they decided to go all in, and they had a really good year 3 years ago. They kind of had some injuries and lost to James Madison at the end. In the NCAA tournament in the first round, but then they used the whole offseason to really implement it and to say we need to do more ball screens, we need to open up the floor, spacing, we need to go more up tempo, we need to get higher possessions, we need to build a roster that takes more threes and eliminates the mid-range game. And they brought in those pieces like Nick Boy, like John Tonje, so on and so forth, and that's really helped this team be more explosive. There were times 5, 6, 7 years ago when Wisconsin got down double figures, especially on the road. You went, well, what else is on television? They just weren't built for that. Now they've come back 6 times from double digits down just since January 1st started. It's a team that has that explosiveness, and they have the confidence. Okay, we're down 10. We can get that back in 3 possessions if we lock in. And that's the confidence that this team has, and that's, like you said, Greg deserves a lot of credit for evolving with the times instead of just being stuck in an offense that 10, 15 years ago would have worked, but has no chance in today's day of college basketball.
Then you look at the standings right now. Badgers and Michigan State both 10-4 in conference. Then Purdue and Nebraska 11-3, Illinois 12-3. Badgers aren't catching Michigan. They're 14-1, 24-1 overall. But these other 3 teams in front of them, a win, 2 wins more. Of the 6 games left on the Badger schedule, they only have 1 against the top 25 team. That's Purdue at the last game of the season. I mean, they can really maneuver the way up the Big Ten standings here between now and the end of the season.
Correct. They can. They still have 4 of 6 on the road, and they have to go up to the Pacific Northwest. Now, Washington and Oregon have struggled this year. Both have had injuries. They're both not going to make the NCAA tournament. But again, you're going on the road. You're going a couple time zones over. Could be tricky for them. But you look at the teams that have them. Every team ahead of them has a tough game remaining. Illinois has got to play Michigan in Champaign, end of the month, February 27th. Purdue has Michigan at home, come up tomorrow. Nebraska has games at Iowa, and they have to go out to the West Coast to play the LA school. So every team above them in the standings has 1, if not 2, tough games left. And you kind of look where Wisconsin is. It's kind of split. I mean, there's 3 games where they're like a 55% favorite or less, and that starts tomorrow at Ohio State. I think the analytics say they have a 42% chance to win the game, I think the last time I checked. But I think that might have been before Mobley's injury came up. I mean, so Ohio State's going to be without their second leading scorer tomorrow night. And then, you have the game at Mackey. But really, this team has won 3 very, very challenging games. I should say 2. Winning at Michigan. Michigan hasn't lost to anyone but Wisconsin. And winning at Illinois. Yes, I know they were down 2 starters. But if Wisconsin can win at Michigan, they can beat anybody anywhere. They just have to kind of continue to play their style of basketball. They need to hit some threes, play some good defense, and just find that balance. And the key for both games, at least the last two top 10 games, they've limited the turnovers. Only 4 against Illinois, 6 against Michigan State. When you have an offense that has been as explosive as it has been since the first of the year, to give that offense more possessions and limit turnovers, that's a real dangerous combination.
I'm never going to get that Indiana game out of my mind because that should have been a win had it not been for some questionable refereeing, but we'll move on. Ben, thanks so much for coming on. Tell everybody about what they'll find if they follow you at the Badger Nation on X.
Yeah, Badgers SI, we're going to have full coverage of Wisconsin, Ohio State tomorrow. I looked back. There's a story up there now. The Wisconsin team that went to the Final Four championship game 11 years ago, how does it match up to the offenses of today? I think the offense 11 years ago with Kaminsky, Decker, Gosser, Koenig, Hayes, Showalter, Jackson,
Rust,
Dukan, that team in today's era would be amazing. I mean, that team was ahead of its time. I kind of looked at some of the analytic numbers of where that team ranks today. You know, Wisconsin's back in the AP poll. Full coverage of basketball, football. We got a lot going on at Badgers on SI.
Check it out, man. He's really, really good at what he does. Ben, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yep. Take care.
Take care. There he's Ben Worgull on X at the Badger Nation, joining us on the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. So we follow the Mason Crosby show with Mitch Thunder Nellis. And on the TV, as he was getting distracted, as he always does.
Of course. Yeah.
He has the Olympics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I did not turn it off. I still have it up on the TV. The one thing I have not really talked about is the Olympics much on this show. Can I just tell you one thing that is driving me absolutely nuts about the Olympics this year?
That?
I hate that damn drone. Because you hear that, is this following along or whatever?
Just turn the sound down.
Oh, and I couldn't even imagine, like, or some of the snowboarding and skiing or whatever. It's like, it's got to be in your peripheral when you're up in the air and that thing is sitting over. I hate it. I absolutely cannot stand.
That's such an old man thing.
I cannot stand that drone. It drives me nuts.
Just turn the sound down.
Hate it.
You don't need to listen for most of this stuff.
That's unfair to the announcers.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but they're still getting paid to be on air, whether you have them muted or not.
I understand. I'm just saying, for what it's worth, you can get rid of that drone for the next Olympics, and I would be completely okay.
I'm gonna
with
guess
it.
there's probably gonna be more drones, Sparky. If we're gonna be honest,
You think so?
it's gonna be in USA. Isn't the next Olympics the 2028 ones?
Yeah,
it's gonna be too many drones probably here. We love our technology.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, you're right about that. Coming up next, Boogie Cousins apparently has an idea to fix the dunk contest. Now, part of the idea is just to get rid of it and replace it with a different type of an event. And I think he might actually be onto something. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk a little bit about that dunk contest, too. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. Powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. That's where you're going to want to be, man. Basketball is flying along here. Pros are going to get back at it again now after the All-Star weekend. College basketball regular season's coming to an end. Then you got tournaments and stuff coming up next week and next month. That is what it really is. And then baseball. Baseball season starts at the end of the next month, too. Spring training games are going to get underway here in a couple weeks. Can you feel it? The thrill of witnessing a walk-off grand slam, game-winning touchdown, a buzzer-beating three. You know the feeling. There's only one place to experience that raw exhilaration. My place. Potawatomi Sportsbook. Catch all the action in a supreme space with dozens of sports betting kiosks, cool drinks, 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails, luxury seating, 2 levels, great food. The food there at the Potawatomi Sportsbook is so good, right? They got burgers, wraps, wings, salads, you name it, they got it. All day brunch, homemade desserts and pastries, great atmosphere, and a monster video wall that's 2,000 square feet, over 30 events at one time they can show you. Only at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, best sportsbook in the Midwest. I'm just going to say it. More info at Potawatomi.com. And as I've said before, and I'll say again, when we get to college basketball and all that fun stuff that's going to be happening next month, reserve your seats ahead of time, people. You don't have to. You could gamble. I mean, you are going to a sportsbook, so I guess by nature, you're gamblers anyhow. I don't like that. I like knowing I have somewhere to sit, but totally up to you. Go to Potawatomi.com, reserve your seat today. Nominal fee goes towards your food and beverage costs, but you're going to spend that money anyhow. Must be 21 to enter the casino. Again, Potawatomi.com.
He's good. Take your time.
Good to see him pop right back up. That was scary. I think he hit his head.
No, it's just
Oh, the
yeah.
hair. The hair.
He got a little bit of hair. Yeah,
The hair protected him.
Yeah. Not exactly Jace Richardson's finest moment as he bounced off the backboard and landed on the floor.
And his alma mater lost to the Wisconsin Badgers the weekend before.
Michigan
So he had a
lost,
bad
too.
weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're Jason Richardson's kid on top of everything else. So that didn't turn out so well. Highlight there. Who was that highlight? Courtesy of
NBA
TV. Okay, so the dunk contest wasn't really what everybody thought it was going to be. Nobody knew who anybody was in the dunk contest last night. Wisconsin Sports Daily, by the way, live on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And it wasn't well received. Now, some of the dunks were okay. As I stated last week, guys like Jackson Hayes should not be in the damn thing. Jackson Hayes just completely said, you know what, Sparky, you're right. Let me just show you what a big looks like in this damn thing. He was just boring. Would that be the correct way of putting it? Boring?
Well, but in his defense, everybody was. Like Kashad Johnson, the dunk that he won on was the most like basic windmill I've ever seen. It was insane.
Correct.
That was your best dunk of the day. That's crazy.
Yes. Right. So you have that going on. Meanwhile, after that gets done, Mac McClung's like, oh, let me show you what I've been doing. And then he posts his video, and his dunks are way more higher end and way better had he been able to be in the dunk contest, which obviously they did not allow him to be in the dunk contest. So he posts those on social media. Everybody's losing their minds. Like, see, now here's creativity. Here's a dude wanting to one-up it and figure out different ways of going about doing dunks versus doing the same thing. And the funniest part about it is when you hear guys on the network talking about this, it's like, well, there are no new dunks to come up with. Everybody's done every dunk. There's nothing new. There's no more creativity left. There's nothing to be done that hasn't been done. And here's Mac McClung's 4 dunks that clearly have never been done before. Boogie Cousins talks on Run It Back, the show that he does, about replacing the dunk contest.
At this point, when it comes to the dunk contest, there's nothing more that you can create or come up with that the human body can actually do.
It's wrong.
I think we've seen it all. I think we've seen the best.
Wrong.
I mean, can they do it better than the person that did it the first
Gotta
time?
be something.
I know we're gonna talk about Matt McClung in a minute.
Thank
but
you.
he did 4 I'd never seen again.
He did show
But he's
us
also
on.
a name that nobody knows.
So what?
Well, now we do.
No, I'm saying.
So it doesn't
speaking,
really help.
by the way,
It doesn't really
this is
help the
McClung.
situation.
I'm speaking to the fact that we still got some dunks out there. We still got a few left.
Oh,
That's
At
all
the
I'm
end of the
saying.
day, I just don't think the dunk contest hits the way it used to back in the day. It was still a star-driven. It was a star-driven event. We don't have stars in the event anymore. No matter if they
But
come
whose
up
fault
with
is that? You know whose fault that is? Ego.
It may be, but it may be.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you got to move on from it. I think we should take a page out of the women's game. Go look at Unrivaled, the way they play this one-on-one tournament.
Got to put
the
the
way
ones
they bring
in
the
there.
best out of each other. I think we should cancel the dunk contest and bring in the one-on-one tournament.
Okay, first of all, yes, I agree with Boogie Cousins. Yes, I'm fine bringing in a one-on-one tournament. How many of these guys are going to play in a one-on-one tournament? I don't care about a one-on-one tournament if it's the same dudes that are in the dunk contest. I don't care. So unless you can make the money big enough for these top stars to make it worth their while, first place is 20 million, 15 million, where they're going to go all out. Cool. But this is the other thing. Now, the dunk contest, yeah, you might get hurt. But now you're talking about stopping, juking, jiving, all of this, knees twisting, ankles going different ways, because now you're trying to win. You're playing to win, right?
If you're playing in the whole tournament, you're constantly putting 100% out there because you're the only person on the court guarding or playing offense.
I think there's a bigger risk of injury doing that than there is the dunk contest. So while I agree it would be more entertaining, like Boogie Cousins says, I'm with you on that. I just don't think you're going to see that. And listen, some of these star players, you want to know LeBron James? You want to know why he didn't do it? Because he knew he couldn't win it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. Giannis tried and was awful. So that's another guy that had no business going. But he went because that's what everybody said you should do, right? Go help the dunk contest. It was brutal. And LeBron never did it because he knew he couldn't win it. So he was going to go out there and suffer embarrassment by not winning it. He's the king after all. If I'm going to go do something, I want to win it. That's all part of this now. And I get Mac McClung's not in, so you can't let him be in. Fine. But couldn't you create Mac McClung versus the world?
That's what I was going to say.
Go.
Do like a horse style dunk contest. Call it Mac if you want. And he goes out there and does his dunks. And then 3 other guys try to copy his dunk. And then you get 3 tries to copy that dunk or something. You get eliminated one by one. Whoever the year before winner was is just the new Mac. And you all just play Mac over and over again. And so do that. Do it that way. Make it
and
so
if
that it's
he
more fun.
doesn't lose, he keeps going year to year.
Yeah, if he's the guy who keeps winning, keeps being, but just name it after him because he's
Yes.
won so many now at this point. That's what he's known for. Name the game after him, and then just each year's winner comes back and competes again.
Right. So instead of saying it's the dunk contest, just call it Mac McClung versus the world.
Yeah.
And everybody step up and see what you got and go from there.
And then maybe LeBron James or somebody like Anthony Edwards says, I'm sick of seeing Mac McClung win Mac all the time. I want to go win Mac. And then he wants to go out there and do it.
None of those guys could do those dunks he just did. There is no chance.
We don't know that.
I do know
Some of
that.
these guys aren't going out there and doing it.
LeBron isn't getting up into the air and touching the ball to his feet while in the air and then dunking the basketball. There's no chance.
I bet Anthony Edwards, John Morant,
maybe,
one of those guys.
I'm just saying,
that.
bigger dudes, 6'9", 6'10", they are not doing that. There's no chance. They're going to have to
wait
be.
and see.
Going to have to be guard.
Didn't think I'd see Victor Wembanyama doing the things he does half the time.
Fair enough. Stephen Gillaspie is going to join us from No Ceilings, NBA coming up at 3:20. Great Substack, do great draft coverage. There are a lot of exciting players the Bucks might be able to get here in this lottery. We're going to talk about some of those. Charlie Sounds of the Day comes up at 3:40. Up next, The Athletic had some names out there of players that league executives said, wouldn't be surprised if this player got traded. One very intriguing to me, and one that I see maybe the Brewers' opportunity to finally push all in to go get a young stud. We'll tell you who that is coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome in as we broadcast live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here, Charlie Hughes, producing Other Side of the Glass. Don't forget, follow us along social media. We are everywhere you want us to be at WI Sports Radio, Instagram, Facebook, streaming live on X and on YouTube each and every day. So make sure to check us out there. Stephen Gillaspie of No Ceilings, a Substack, and YouTube joins us coming up here at 3:20. We'll talk about the NBA draft lottery because right now the Bucks are still technically in it. And if they were to fall out of it, we'll maybe throw a couple names out there that still might be able to fall to the Bucks if they were to get outside the lottery there in the first round. Charlie Sounds of the Day comes up at 3:40. But before we get into all that, I want to talk a little bit about the Milwaukee Brewers, because as you know, we like to talk Bucks, Brewers, and Packers on this show if we can, every day, as much as we can. There is a piece in The Athletic today, and by the way, I know I say this all the time, but you're going to subscribe to something that makes a lot of sense to go subscribe because there is so much good content. And again, no, they don't cover the Brewers, so that's a huge fail on their part. But the Bucks coverage is really good. Packers coverage is obviously really good with Eric Name and Matt Schneidman, but their national stuff is really good too. So they have been putting out these pieces with these surveys they're doing with Major League Baseball front office and executives and so forth. And this last one that I saw today was them talking about what players are most likely, do you think, to get moved during spring training, right? And who most likely is to go places? Well, Paredes obviously is one in Houston. Okay, no big surprise there. The third baseman, everybody's waiting to get dealt. So we'll see if that happens or not. CJ Abrams is another one, the former top-end Padres prospect from back in the day that went to Washington. He's another guy that everybody thinks could get dealt here at some point, the middle infielder. So everybody's got like all these different votes next to him, right? Some pitchers are in there. Then on the bottom, they've got another list of 6 to 8 guys. And on that list of 6 to 8 guys is an outfielder from the Nationals who you would have several years of control with. Hasn't even got to arbitration yet. In James Wood, the outfielder for the Washington Nationals.
Kinda. Just not everyone's James.
Fly ball to deep right field. A no-doubter. James Wood. Give him a bobblehead night every single night the rest of the season. Last 2 ball games on his bobblehead nights. He's now 3 for 6, 2 doubles, and a second deck homer.
Second deck bomb for James Wood there for the Nationals. Highlight courtesy of the Nationals Radio Network. So James Wood, 6'7", big dude. Lots of power, going to hit you 30 to 40 home runs every year because he's still young, which means he's still going to put on muscle and so forth and build that dude out. Now, there are negatives. Led the league in strikeouts, 200 plus strikeouts last year. And again, when you're that big, like Aaron Judge, you're going to have a guaranteed some type of area that you struggle with. Because it's just harder to control that bat in the zone when you have so many long moving parts when you're that tall. So there is going to be that negative. The other part of this would be the defense, Charlie. And that's something you brought up to me in the pre-show meeting.
Yeah, so James Wood this season definitely took a step forward in his defensive capabilities from his rookie season. In his rookie season, he had a DRS of -7. This year, he improved that to 1. His fielding percentage went from 971 to 987. That is in left field and the outfield overall. And then he had 3 errors. If we head over to Baseball Savant, though, his outs above average last season was actually worse compared to his rookie season. He had -5 his rookie year. This year, he had -7 outs above average. Really just a guy that has this athletic ability to be a great defender. He has that height. He can... One play last year where he just literally stuck his hand over the wall without jumping and saved a home run. That was insane. I haven't seen anybody do that ever in my entire life. It's crazy. Yep. But he was able to do that. And then there was a play 2 games later in that same series where he completely lost the ball in a not really sunny sky and just completely misjudged where it was. He has these lapses that can be really detrimental to a team, especially late in games. But if he continues to take steps forward, and with a team like the Milwaukee Brewers who continue to churn out Gold Glove level defensive players, especially in the outfield, it could be a match made in heaven there.
Now, this is the thing. So he was in his age 22 year last year. It's his first full season in the bigs last year. He had a cup of coffee in 21. He had, 79 games played, so maybe more than a cup of coffee. His win above replacement last year was 3.7. That's a pretty big number for one player.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big number.
It's huge.
He had 31 homers, 94 RBIs, 15 stolen bases, and like I said, 221 strikeouts. It's just
led the league.
Not great. Led the league, right? 256 batting average, 350 on base. That's good. 475 slugging. That also is good for an 825 OPS, and of course, an all-star game to go along with it. Now, the reason why I think this makes sense as far as going all in is because of depth that you currently have right now at that position in the outfield. The question is this. I can't believe, James Wood is even on that list. So obviously executives think that he could be had, apparently. Would you be willing to go all in on James Wood, knowing that you have him locked up for 5 more years? It could be 6 more years. I'd have to go look and see. But it's several more years. He hasn't even got to arbitration yet. Would you be willing to go all in on James Wood, the outfielder from the Nationals? Now, I'll tell you what all in is momentarily. But the 40-man roster, the Brewers just signed a little bit ago, after they just got Rengifo signed and under contract. The 40-man roster, outfielders, okay? Christian Yelich, he's on the team. Blake Perkins, he's on the team. Garrett Mitchell, he's on the team. Sal Frelick, he's on the team. Jackson Churio, he's on the team. Now, Yelich is going to be your DH, though, right? So even though he's listed as an outfielder, he ain't going to play much outfield. Then you have Brandon Lockridge, Stuart Baroa, and Akil, how do you say his name? Badu? Yeah. He had a game for the Tigers, I think, last year where he was good. Maybe 2. Had him in fantasy for that long, and now was off quickly. So those are what you have for outfielders. Now, you have Adam Shevsky coming up in the minors. Not really a big power guy per se. He was an infielder, and because of lack of outfield depth and how deep the infield is in this organization, they moved him to the outfield. So Adam Shevsky can hit, though. I mean, he's really, really good, this minor leaguer that's coming up for the Brewers. I'm not saying he's not. But there is a void right now in that outfield depth. You are strong, beyond strong, with your pitching and with your infielders. Todd Rosiak on the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Brewers beat writer. One of those guys, Eric Batanti, he tweeted out from the minor league side, Eric Batanti is huge. So he's added on a bunch of muscle going into this thing, and he already was a power hitter. But when I say go all in, I mean go all in. That means Pena, who's your second best guy behind Made, he goes. Right? See ya. Jefferson Cuero, your top catching prospect. You have Dingus coming behind him. Cuero, he's gone. See you later. Bye-bye to you. Cooper Pratt, see ya. Bye-bye. You're gone. Logan Henderson, see ya. You're gone. Bye-bye. And another player. Now, if I make that type of offer to the Washington Nationals, considering we have the number 1 ranked farm system, you're giving them like 4 guys in your top 10, whatever. I find it hard to believe that the Washington Nationals would say, yeah, that's not close. Maybe they would. If you wanted Sproat, or if you wanted Harrison, you can have them too. I don't really care. But to take James Wood, who, by the way, is left-handed as well, left-handed power, to take James Wood, to put him in the middle of the lineup would be gigantic. Because now all of a sudden you've got him at 30-plus homers, Yelich around 30 homers as well. Churio, you think, will eventually get to 30 homers per season as he continues to add muscle and get bigger and so forth moving forward. Made is coming. He's going to be at least 20 or 25 homers a year. He's thick on the lower end. So he's coming. Fisher's the top third base prospect in baseball. He's going to be a monster home run guy. So you're going to go from being this slapstick team, which is what you've been, to all of a sudden being, now I'm going to use a term that tries not going to, Bambi's Bombers, right? That's what it's going to be. Bambi's Bombers all over again. Charlie, go ahead. What is that reference to?
The 82 Brewers or before the 82
after.
Brewers? After.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew it was around there. I knew it was one of the Brewers.
Yes, George Bamberger was the coach back in the day. But that is how much power you can essentially add here. And to have Wood under several years of control, and again, Pena, Cuero, Logan Henderson, who else did I say? Pratt, and one other player, whoever that is.
Probably have to be one of your outfielders, right?
Probably another pitcher.
Garrett Mitchell?
Probably a pitcher. I mean, if they want to Gary Mitchell, fine.
Yeah.
You have Gary Mitchell. I don't care. I'm not going to fight about that. I just think it's
You
another
have to
pitching
clear. You have to
prospect.
clear room in that room because they're loaded right there right now. If you're going to do that, might as well move on one of them in this trade.
You can move on from Sal Frelick too.
Yeah, why not?
You've got Jet Williams now. You don't need Sal, so you can move on from Sal Frelick in that deal if they had interest in Sal Frelick. I just think, look, you're not going to go and trade, even though we were talking about it last year, for Ronald Acuna and spend all that money. Like, they're just not going to do it. They don't want to spend $30 million a year or whatever the case may be. You're not going to trade for Soto and spend all of that money. What's more than likely going to happen if they ever push chips in is going to be trading for another guy like Yelich, who has a ton of potential. The team's having a fire sale. You've got a bunch of talent. You can go and potentially overpay to go get said player. This James Wood character, man, this would change everything in this lineup, and Brewers fans would be ecstatic.
I would be. James Wood was awesome last season. I know his second half of the year was nowhere near what he was doing in that first half of the season when everybody was super high on him, but he's still 22 years old. He's younger than me. That's 2 years. That's crazy. I hate thinking about that. I said this last week too. It's weird seeing that there's guys that are studs that are like younger than I am already in the MLB, but he's one of those players. And to go out and get that type of player for what you have in your farm system, where most of these guys may not even really truly get a chance with you at that major league level, if you do decide to get more competitive here, it's better to start moving these guys now while they have that value, while you have that pedigree in this number one farm system, and you still have Jesus Madej. You still have a lot of these players behind all these other top prospects that you'd be moving on that are just going to become top prospects themselves because they have that pedigree themselves.
Correct. From the 262 on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line, Wood will be a stud. Love him. Yes. From the 262, would totally go after Wood. Adds a much-needed power bat. The farm system is promising, but no guarantees it translates to the majors. Give me the known commodity that's going to continue to get better. Also from the 262. Yes. But again, I'm not saying he's going to do this, Matt Arnold. But what I am saying is, we keep talking about, will they ever go for it? Will they ever go for it? Remember, we had this conversation with Eric Kratz last week, and that's Kratz's biggest issue here is, dude, can you please go for it? He wanted them to give up a bunch to get Skubal in the offseason and bring Skubal here, pay him the arbitration money for a year, and let him be at the front of the rotation with Peralta. And on Kratz's world, Woodruff isn't here, right? So they go Skubal, Peralta at the front, and go give up all these prospects to rent Skubal for a year and try and go win a championship. I get it. But realistically, they're not spending all that money. So this, I think, becomes way more of a realistic idea. And Brewers fans would go nuts. Baseball would be like, holy crap. All this Alex Bregman stuff down in Chicago, that's cute, but this would be a counterpunch.
This would be huge. And again, it fits your timeline too. This is all would be perfect. This is also why I think the Nationals know what they have in this situation, why it's going to take a haul. They traded or got 4 young prospects, 4 high prospects from the Padres for trading Juan Soto to them, one of them being James Wood. They're also shopping CJ Abrams, who was also in that trade. I think their goal is to get bigger packages out of these 2 young studs than what they got out of Juan Soto, who was kind of holding them hostage towards the end of his tenure there.
Look up real quick. We got to get to a break. We got to get to Stephen Gillaspie of No Ceilings NBA coming up. Where's the Nationals farm system ranked in Major League Baseball? Because we know the Brewers are sitting at the top at number 1. I wonder how far down the list the Nationals are. I would assume they're at least in the top 5, right? Because they've been so bad for so long with drafts.
14 in ESPN's rankings right now.
Yeah.
Looking at that, so that's probably about where they are everywhere.
So 14, which means they still need higher end prospects. They're nowhere close to 1. They're middle of the league right now. So to give them 4 or 5 of your top 10 to go get 1 major league player, I just don't see how the Nationals say no to that. I just don't, especially if it's a couple of pitchers, a couple of position players, a catcher, and outfield. Like I don't see how they say no. I don't. I think you just overwhelm them until they say yes. You offer 3 guys. No. You offer them 4 guys. You offer them a 5th guy. All right. Well, hold on. Let us talk about it. We'll get back to you. And if you have to offer 6, you offer 6. But just go get this dude and be done with it. Coming up next, Stephen Gillaspie of No Ceilings. We'll talk about the NBA draft lottery. The Bucks are going to have somebody, whether it's in this lottery or just outside the lottery. They're going to have one of these top-end studs here coming up. And I was looking at mock drafts this weekend, getting super excited about who they could potentially add. So we'll talk about that next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome back. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily. C. Sparky Fiver with you. Charlie Hughes on the other side of the glass. Thanks for listening all over the beautiful state of Wisconsin. WNFL, Green Bay, Appleton area, the Flamethrower, 99.7 FFM. They got a huge charity event coming up in February 25th and 26th. You'll learn more about that coming up here in the next week or so. Wausau 93.9 the game in Milwaukee on the Fan, 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, and in Duluth, Superior, 710 the game. So thanks for listening to the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network today. Joining us now as we switch gears to the Milwaukee Bucks, he is Stephen Gillaspie joining us from No Ceilings. Follow him on Twitter at Stephen G Hoops, and it's Stephen is spelled like I spell my name, Stephen, P-H-E-N, Stephen G Hoops. Joins us on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, Stephen, no problem at all, man. I was appreciative of you reaching out and wanting to talk some ball, man. I'm excited to be here.
So this is the deal. I'll just tell you what happens with me, right? So I am a draft dork, whether it's baseball draft, whether it's NFL draft, or the NBA draft. I'm not really a hockey guy, but those three, I'm always looking at stuff, and I've been at the point with the Bucks where I've been looking at mock drafts here pretty regularly for the last week or two, and I was really getting excited looking at mock drafts over the weekend at some of the different ones, and I was really intrigued by those of yours over at NoCeilingsNBA.com. In your opinion, where is the line where we go from elite star power to maybe the next level of star power to then that third tier, which mixes across the second round?
Well, I mean, it's obviously very fluid right now, but for me, Steve, right now it's a top four. I think coming into the season, a lot of people had Darren Peterson, AJ Dabanta, and Cam Boozer as their consensus top three. But Caleb Wilson has kind of punched his way up a lot of big boards as of late, the freshman forward out of North Carolina. And it's unfortunate because he recently just sustained a broken hand to his offhand. So he's going to miss some time. He's going to try to come back. But right now, I say it's a pretty clear top four for me. And then you could really argue, I would say, looking at my board, about 4 to 5 names for that number 5 spot all the way through the rest. And then if you're looking for another break after that, I would say at about pick maybe 10 on through, you're still looking at some very, very good players, but obviously not looked at right now as a potential like breakout star for the NBA. So it's an interesting little segment of players at the top. But I mean, obviously with so much season still in front of us, somebody is eventually going to rise to the top and make us consider them in a new light.
I got to know, what do you have against my guard at Arkansas? You got him at 15 right now. I love that kid. What don't you like about him? I've seen people say he's the next Marbury and stuff like that. What do you think of him?
Well, I mean, I don't appreciate you throwing that all on my shoulders there, Steve. I am from Arkansas, I'll have you know, and I am a very big Darius Acuff Jr. fan. And to put it to you like this, I have him 5th on my board. I have him as my point guard number 1.
Yeah.
And just to kind of let the listeners know and let them peek behind the curtain, at No Ceilings, we have a big collective of, scouts and analysts and stuff like that. So this is kind of a weighted big board that we put up over at NoCeilingsNBA.com. So there are some people obviously who are a little bit lower on Darius Acuff than I am. I recently just wrote about him, did a big deep dive. I'm becoming more and more of a fan of him. I just think that some of the comps, you mentioned the Steph Marbury. I don't particularly like those types of comps because I don't think that NBA front offices are looking for that type of a point guard anymore. But what I do think they're after is what Darius Acuff brings. He's very much so a table setter and organizer. There was a lot of questions of his kind of shooting efficiency coming into the season, and he's shooting over 40% on good volume this season. There was a lot of people who thought he was going to be one of these more selfish point guards, not passing. He is well over 6 assists per game. So in terms of setting the table, being a dynamo, 3-level scorer on offense, I think he's doing a great job. And then there are people who will point to the defense and say, well, he doesn't get a lot of stocks, the combination of steals and blocks. And I just think that that's obviously part of him just being the sun and the moon for his team right now. You know, he can only exert so much energy on the defensive end. And to be honest with you too, like, are you looking for your point guard to be the best defender on your team? Probably not. You know, I just think that he has the measurables, he has the pedigree, the give a crap also, so to speak, to at least be average as he continues to work his way up basketball.
Okay, so I want to get an outsider's view on this because I didn't watch Zheng play at all when he was at Oklahoma City. Obviously, he was the number 11 pick in the draft a couple of years ago, and the draft with Boncaro and all of that, and really just lost track of him with the Thunder because they have other guys that I cared about. Then the Bucks ended up getting him at the deadline. First 2 games at the deadline, he looks like he could be a potential all-star here. So Bucks fans are getting their hopes up, but to me, that kind of throws a wrench into things here because if this dude, he's 22, if this dude is legit and can play, and based on where he was taken, obviously people thought he was talented enough to probably get to this point at some point if this is real. What then becomes of what the Bucks are looking for?
That's a very good point. I was actually entertaining me even just kind of throwing that question to you in terms of like, who do we look for as potential draft prospects for the Bucks? Because Zhang coming in from the Oklahoma City Thunder, it's obviously a good problem to have, I think, in some regards, to have a young talent who was well regarded coming out of his draft. And a lot of people were very much so in on him coming out of the NBL. And now you get him as like the second draft, as you know, a lot of people refer to getting still a young player on their rookie deal to another team. The second draft contract coming in, you give him a real look to be good. I mean, it's pretty reminiscent of what the Bulls just did with Josh Giddey, you know, acquiring him at the trade deadline for the Chicago Bulls. So it does throw an interesting wrinkle. Obviously, he's got the size, he's got some handle, he's very fluid offensively. He offers some defensive tools as well. And I think it comes at a position of need right now for the Bucks as well. You know, that front court spot, having kind of a swing forward who can come in and do a little bit of everything on both sides. It does throw an interesting wrinkle into things. I don't necessarily know if I'm afraid to, you know, draft over him when I'm on the clock if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, because you always need depth.
You there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you dropped off for a second. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. I don't know where you lost me.
You were talking about always need, and then you stopped when you were talking about overdrafting.
Yeah, you just always need a little bit of depth, and that's where I left off.
You know, this is the thing, too, from a Bucks perspective, because right now you have Ryan Rollins, you have a player option in KPJ and Kevin Porter Jr., and now Cam Thomas. Now, he's going to go to free agency, but if they decide that they want to bring Cam Thomas back, and then you just signed A.J. Green last year to a deal, from a guard perspective, you feel like you're pretty good, even though I don't know that necessarily you really have that true blue chip, Ray Allen-like necessarily shooting guard. And then the center position, that's Miles Turner. So unless they trade him, that's your center. Giannis is your power forward. And this summer is going to be all about convincing Giannis to stay. So whoever this lottery pick is going to be for the Bucks is going to have to step in and pretty much contribute right off the bat to convince Giannis that, you know, he potentially has a Robin to his Batman here going forward. You start talking about that area of, you know, 7 to 10 or in that vicinity. Is there a guy or two where you're like, this dude's NBA ready, he's going to come in, he'll average, you know, 15 to 20 right off the bat?
Well, it's interesting because I think there's a lot of upside through that spot, obviously 7 through 10. Like on my board, I'm looking at names like Kingston Flemings, Keaton Wagler, Braden Burries, Braylon Mullins, Nate Ament, Kareem Lopez, and Amari Allen. Those are all, you know, first-year guys who have little – I mean, obviously they have no NBA experience, and some of them have missed time due to injury through this year. So in terms of getting someone who's NBA ready, you're going to have to kind of look a little bit further down the board. I don't know if you're a big fan of Yaxel Lindenborg out of Michigan, who is a graduate student who came from UAB this past season and is looked to get his shot off with more volume this season, playing underneath Coach Dusty May. So the three-point shot has kind of been the big swing skill for him. But in terms of everything else, like, he can contribute, and he's a dog, you know, on the rebounding end, on the defensive end. He's a good playmaker as well. So in terms of someone who's ready to play now, I would say Yaxel Lindenberg would be the returner that I would kind of prioritize out of this group for the Bucks. Thomas Houck is another good name to kind of consider. Similar player, plays the 3 and the 4, was an NBA champion with the Florida Gators, shoots 3 on good volume and good efficiency, and is kind of one of these like never say die players. His motor is always running hot. He's ready to contribute. He'll step in and fill any role that's needed of him. So that gives the Bucks a couple of combo forwards that they can consider through that range as well.
We're going to talk about dream scenarios, talking with our guy, Stephen Gillaspie, No Ceilings, NBA.com. Sign up for their Substack today. Follow him on Twitter at Stephen, P-H-E-N, G Hoops. Stephen G Hoops on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. For me, I love Keaton Wagler. I'm just a big fan. We just watched him play against Wisconsin a couple games ago for Illinois. This is a legit 2, right? 6'6", can shoot the deep ball, gives you the size that you need, more so than Kevin Porter Jr., more so than AJ Green, more so than Cam Thomas as far as a true shooting guard. And if Jang is that guy, now you're 6'6", 6'8", 6'9", then Giannis, then Turner. Now you really are long and create problems for other teams. I think that's my dream scenario.
I would agree with you a lot. If the Bucks are on the clock and they have Keaton Wagler ready to be drafted, I'd sprint to the podium.
Yep.
You mentioned the size and the length that he provides. Not only that, but it's interesting because he was one of the best players out of the state of Kansas. Somehow the Jayhawks just let him walk away. How good would he look next to Darren Peterson right now, right? He goes to Illinois and immediately takes on a sizable role for the Illini. Then Kylan Boswell gets injured. So now this kind of unheralded player steps into a position to where he is now the lead guard, the kind of sole facilitator for Illinois on a team with high aspirations. And he only gets better with more is kind of thrusted upon his shoulders. So being able to get a guy who is probably going to be primarily a 2, in my opinion, in the NBA, allowing him to run next to any sort of combination of the guards that you have and might have moving forward, along with Giannis, who's going to eat up a lot of usage as well. He's going to be able to open the floor for the team. There are little concerns in terms of, rebound. Well, not necessarily rebounding at large, but defensively, because he is a little bit thinner. But as he gets stronger, I believe that that's going to kind of shore up. So, getting someone who's that size, who can handle, who can pass, who can rebound and compete, and is only going to get better and stronger over the next few seasons, I think that makes a ton of sense for Milwaukee.
Thank you so much for coming on. What can people find over there at NoCeilingsNBA.com?
Well, thanks for having me, Steve. Yeah, over at NoCeilingsNBA.com, we have, the mock drafts and big boards. We do a lot of, player profiles. We do a lot of boots on the ground reporting from games and events that we attend. So if you just want to get smart on some players who are going to be playing in the NBA in the near future, just go over to NoCeilingsNBA.com and you can read anything that you would ever want to find on any of the players. And on any social media at No Ceilings NBA, YouTube, look up No Ceilings NBA, and we have a lot of good stuff over there as well. But thank you, Steve, so much for having me.
We'll have to get you on more as we get closer to the NBA draft, the lottery, all that fun stuff. Steven, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Take care. There is Stephen Gillaspie. Again, NoCeilingsNBA.com. Follow him on X at Stephen G. Hoops. Check out the mock drafts, scouting reports, all that great stuff. It's a cool website, man. It really is. Highly suggest to sign up for the Substack, too. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Let me tell you about my friends, Habish, and Rotier. As you know, we do Plead the Fifth on Fridays at 4:20, and your opportunity to call out a host on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, call out a host or a player in the sports world that said something you're like, oh, just don't say that, right? Make yourself look bad. Just plead the fifth. Don't answer that question. Don't talk about that topic, right? We always take nominations for that all week long. If you want to tell Charlie who your nomination may be, that's fine. You can do it anywhere in the social media, the Dugout YouTube chat, all areas that you can get involved. But Habish, and Rotier, man. Habish been around a long time. 1930, they were established. And when you bring them your case becomes the most important. And speaking from a person that was involved in a horrific car accident and was lucky to be alive, I'm telling you, the nerves, the angst of not knowing what to do next, and all of that, because again, you're going through medical bills and everything else. You need somebody to kind of guide you through all of this with your best interests in mind. And that is Habush and Rhodes here. National reputation, hometown service, 13 locations across the state, Green Bay, Appleton, Wausau, Madison, Southeastern Wisconsin. They're everywhere you want them to be. Check them out today. All you have to do is go to Habush.com. Habush.com. And remember, they're here to win for you. Yeah, they've won huge cases across the state of Wisconsin in the past and so forth. When you bring your case to them, you become their most important case, as it should be, because you want to be treated like everybody else, and they will treat you like everybody else. Habush.com. Call them today, 1-800-2HABUSH, 1-800-2HABUSH. Habush and Rhodes here, national reputation, hometown service. Coming up next, it is Charlie Sounds of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily. C. Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie using over there as we broadcast right here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Thanks for tuning in. Valentine's Day is come and gone. We will get to Charlie Sounds of the Day momentarily. Charlie, how did Valentine's Day go? Did she get you anything? What did you get her? There you go.
She got me some candies because that's what we agreed on.
What kind of candy?
Some peanut butter, like chocolate Dove things that were pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you've heard of like Kinder. It's a German chocolate brand, but I love their stuff. It's awesome.
Are those like those little like egg shaped?
They got the eggs, but they got tons of other candy too.
Oh.
So like there's like Kinder Milk bars, which are my favorite. There's like a milk
Really?
cream on the inside and it's like milk chocolate wrapped around it. But she got me these ones that had like hazelnut cream on the inside. Delicious, really good. And I got some flowers. I got her some chocolates, a heart-shaped box and everything. Got her some wine, and then we went to Moe's on Friday.
That's right. You're going to the steakhouse.
We went to the steakhouse. We both got chicken. I knew you were going to be mad about that. I don't like steak, and she wasn't feeling steak.
Should have just lied to me and said we ate at Moe's Steakhouse.
The chicken's delicious too. They have other stuff on the menu that you're allowed to order other stuff. That's why they have it on the menu.
You know what that's like? It's like going to a burger place and ordering a damn salad. Like, leave.
If they have salad on the
There's
menu, then you can order a salad. What's wrong with that?
Just get out. Like, I mean, unless the burgers suck, fine, okay. You don't want to be there. I'm going to get a salad. I don't like their burgers. Okay, I get it.
Maybe you want to support a place so that you like all the time, and you're just not in the mood for a burger this time, but you don't really want to go anywhere else, so you want to buy a salad. I think that's fair.
Like, I get it if you're the big steak guy and she's not. So she's like, all right, I'm going to have chicken. I don't like steak. Like, Kay's not a big steak person. But if I'm going to a damn steakhouse, I'm getting steak now.
They got a
steak.
Sicilian chicken with a side of mashed potatoes that is to die for. I've gotten it both times. I went delicious.
I'm sure it's great. Everything's there is great. I'm just saying, like, I can't understand that whatsoever. Well, that's good. Yeah, we did the whole exchange. Candies exchanged from both of us. Plus, she got me like a candy jar.
Nice.
That I have in my office now. She got me a candy jar last year, and that lasted a couple weeks before somebody came in my office and broke it. Shattered glass all in my office. I was like, I don't know how it happened. Okay. So hopefully this one lasts longer. So that was nice.
Take it to the dust this time.
Yeah. And then I told you her goal was she wanted to get down some of the Christmas trees. So last night it began. So we got 3 trees down last night.
Only 82 more to go, right?
Only like 82 more to go. Correct. Yeah. But we also got a bigger storage unit last night. So we went from a 10 by 10 to a 10 by 15, which now gives us more room to add more trees. So
you should just let them like stack them up in there, put them up in with all the decorations and stuff and everything. And then you can just go in there yourself or bring the kids in there and you guys want to experience Christmas.
I'd like the idea of stacking them up there, decorated, and then getting a U-Haul and then transporting them all back decorated. But I would lose ornaments and so forth. So that's not going to work. But yeah, so that was our Valentine's. Plus we went to Disney on Ice yesterday.
Nice.
Took the kids, and that was a lot of fun too over at Fiserv Forum. All right, let's go. Before we get to Charlie, I want to say, Ron and Rome, I'm not going to read your text message on the air, but I appreciate the love and on the talk and text line that you texted me. All right, Charlie, what do we got?
All right, so first up, we're going to head on over to the Philadelphia Phillies, where there's some drama happening between their star player, Bryce Harper, and President Dave Dombrowski. You're first going to hear from Dave Dombrowski back in October when he was discussing Bryce Harper and his injury that he was dealing with through the season, and then you will hear Bryce Harper's response from earlier today, the first time he's talked about this clip since October.
I mean, in Bryce's case, of course, he's still a quality player. He's still a all-star caliber player. He didn't have an elite season like he has had in the past. And I guess we only find out if he becomes elite or he continues to be good. I mean, it's not like he's, it's like if you say to me, I look around the league, I'm trying to think, Freddie Freeman. It's a really good player, right? He still is a good player. Is he elite like he was before? Probably not to the same extent. And so that's nothing negative. Freddie's a tremendous player. And that's, to me, is Bryce. Can he rise to the next level again? I don't really know that answer. I mean, and really he's the one that will dictate that more than anything else.
Not really. I mean, I don't get motivated by that kind of stuff. For me, it was kind of wild, the whole situation of that happening. I think the big thing for me was, when we first met with this organization, it was, hey, we're always going to keep things in-house, and we expect you to do the same thing. And so, when that didn't happen, kind of took me for a run a little bit. So I don't know, it's part of it, I guess. It's kind of a wild situation, that even happening. Obviously I didn't have the year that I wanted. Obviously I didn't have the postseason I wanted. My numbers weren't where they needed to be. I know that. And, I don't need to be motivated to be great, in my career or anything else. So that's just not a motivating factor for me. For Dave to come out and say those things, it's kind of wild to me still.
Okay. So first of all, I will tell you, I love Dombrowski. I'm a big fan. So I don't really necessarily have a problem with it. I understand why Harper is being sensitive about it. I get it. But at some point, you got to have the realization that, dude, you're going in your age 33 season. Last year, he had 27 homers with a 261 batting average, 357 on base, which is really good. 487 slugging on the year. That 487 slugging is the lowest in his career since 2016, when he had a 441 slugging percentage and hit 24 homers.
But still puts him clear over 800 OPS. I mean,
yes.
He is an elite player with those stats and through an injured year.
It's the lowest OPS he has had since 2016 as well.
And it's still at least an all-star level OPS. That tells me that guy's still elite when he's playing through multiple injuries last season and still has an all-star level OPS. Come on, Dombrowski. Like, I get it. You're disappointed with the way the Philly season ended, but that doesn't make sense to me to not back up your star players when they are still playing at a high level.
How many times do you think Harper hit over 40 homers in his career?
4 times.
You feel like he's a power hitter?
4 times. 3 times. Oh, just
only one time. And that was in 2015. If you look at his home runs the last 4 years, 27 last year, 30 the year before that, 21 year before that, 18 the year before that. Again, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, Bryce Harper. Maybe Bryce Harper comes out and hits 35 or 40 bombs and rebounds and says, well, it had nothing to do with Dave Dombrowski. I don't hate the play by Dombrowski. Regardless if he says it lit a fuel on, put any fuel in him or not, it did. He saw it. He heard it. He got pissed about it. He got angry about it. And now, whether you want to publicly state that irritated you or not, it clearly did, Bryce. And now we'll see what comes out of this. I think it was a great play by Dombrowski. All right, what's next?
I just think to Bryce's point, keep it private. Next up, we're going to head on over to TNT and their coverage of Xavier versus Marquette, where TNT college basketball insider Jared Greenberg was on the show saying Shaka Smart is going to change up how he attacks the transfer portal.
Hi, everybody. Well, Marquette is the last high major men's basketball team to resist going into the transfer portal. And now those days appear to be coming to an end. While Marquette is excited about building around their young core, Shaka Smart told me last night that he will absolutely continue to evolve and do its best to get back to winning, acknowledging the realities of college basketball in 2026. And speaking with multiple members of the athletic department, they all conveyed full support of this next step and of Shaka by providing the necessary resources to compete. It was also made clear that the Golden Eagles' cultural values will never change as they remain committed to finding the right roster fit, fellas.
I think that's right. I do. And I think the way Jared Greenberg put it makes sense. The key here is how much you want to spend. That's the key. I don't know how much money Marquette has in its coffers, but you're already spending money on NIL for recruiting. Now, this is a whole nother venture. I'm assuming a more expensive venture when you go into the portal, and then finding guys that fit your culture of how you want to play is something else Shaka has to deal with. We'll see. We'll see how he actually uses it this offseason. It's one thing to talk it. It's another thing to walk it. So we'll see. What's next?
Last up here, last week, we heard Jerome Tang, Kansas State head coach, who is no longer the Kansas State head coach, gone, get on his team about a loss. This is Creighton head coach Greg McDermott going the complete opposite route when talking about his team after a tough loss.
We're not in a position emotionally that I could probably yell and scream at them right now. They don't need that with what they've been through this last week. So you're trying to teach basketball, you're trying to help them get better, but you also have to understand their kids, and they've been through something they've never been through before. So you have to try to make sure that, I don't want to crush them emotionally because their emotions have been tested this week. So they also need a steady hand as well. Now we have a responsibility to get better. We have a responsibility to play better, and we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. But we also, it's a slippery slope because they're young people that have experienced something was pretty hard for them.
There are multiple ways to go about this if you are a college basketball coach. And he just seems to be the guy that gets it. McDermott does. Some do, some don't. And clearly Tang didn't at K-State, and that's why he's out of a job. Coming up next, green and gold update time. Oh, there's a bunch of big names out there for the Packers. We'll discuss next. Welcome in as we broadcast live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you, Charlie Usen over there. Wisconsin Sports Athletic Hall of Fame takes over the 5 to 6 slot tomorrow night. Special show tomorrow night. Mark Cass, Tommy Wirtz. They had a big sit-down interview in their podcast series, speaker series that they do with Mason Crosby, of all people. A couple weeks ago. So you're going to hear some of that coming up tomorrow night from 5 to 6. And then Thursday night, just for this week and next week, we're moving Hot Stove Weekly. So Thursday night, Hot Stove Weekly with the franchise Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz. They are both back. And we'll see who they come up with guests for this week, Thursday night from 5 to 7 on that one. I get you up to date there. Now, 4 o'clock is a green and gold update. And then we'll get into some of the NBA All-Star Game stuff. At 4:20, and then things Sparky missed comes up at 4:40. The MLB really has irritated me with what they've decided to do with a TV graphics package. I am just absolutely besides myself. Like in situations like this, I wish they would actually, talk to somebody before they make decisions instead of sitting in an office where none of them are clued in on the fan base and making this decision. It is beyond moronic, the decision they made.
You have to care about the fan base to want to do that, Sparky.
Yeah, but I don't think we'll get into this. I think Rob Manfred has done a fine job. I'm not mad at Rob Manfred like everybody else is. Like not everything. Most of the stuff he has done has worked to this point. It has. And it's regenerated interest in the sport, and they're going in the right direction. In fact, I just saw somebody put out on X, is it earlier today, I think, or last night? Everything just blends together. Talking about average viewership for the World Series versus like the NBA Finals. And baseball's killing it. So, from that perspective, clearly they're going in the right direction. But I think they made a mistake. We'll get to that coming up at 4:40. But before we get to our green and gold update, I got this dude sitting over there in the YouTube chat that's all fired up and mad at me. And I asked Charlie, I said, Charlie, do I address this on the air or do I just ignore him and let him scream at the clouds and move on with the show? And because nobody listening knows that this dude is yelling, or she, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, is yelling and screaming at me on YouTube, all worked up. Now, what is he all worked up about, or she all worked up about a topic an hour ago in which we were talking about an athletic article in which they talked about and did a survey of league executives and all this stuff of people they think might get traded during spring training here heading into the season. And James Wood was one of the names that was mentioned at the bottom of an executive throwing out a possibility that he might get moved, similar to CJ Abrams. They have a farm system that's middle of the road in baseball, 14th, 15th in baseball. And obviously going out and trading a James Wood would get you the biggest prospect package imaginable because you have all of their arbitration plus a couple years prior to that. So you're going to control them for quite some time without having to pay a ton of money, which makes the most sense for the Brewers as far as a, quote, all-in package of giving up, 4 of your top 10 or whatever the case may be to go get this dude. And you wouldn't have to spend a crazy amount of money on a Soto or an Acuna or something like that if you trade for them and essentially rent them or have them for 2 years and then know you're losing them. This would fit into Made still being here with them and Churio being there with them and Andrew Fisher still being here with them. And it would fit into their timeline of all these young guys being under control for like the next 5 or 6 years. Makes all the sense in the world that you would do it. Well, this person on Dugout YouTube chat is livid with me that I would even consider such a conversation on the radio and on YouTube and on X. With that, Charlie, by all means, let's go.
So this is Mile High Tie. He says, this all-in conversation is so tired and boring. The answer for this crazy hypothetical is no, duh. You don't trade all that for a guy who isn't a 5-tool player. It's spring training, not November. What kind of convo is this?
The only person that said no. The only person. And to his point, it's, well, he doesn't play great defense. And my point is, yes, but he has something the rest of this lineup doesn't. Power, which you desperately need, which I screamed to the hilltops about last spring training. Throughout this season, throughout this offseason, they need power. And if you want to sit here and look around Major League Baseball, they all say the same thing. They need power. And you're going to get an elite power bat that at American Family Field is going to be amazing. And you're going to put him there, hit 40 home runs a year, have 100 and some RBIs to go with Made and Churio and Fisher and all these other guys that are coming. I mean, my God, to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. He wants the perfect player to give up a bunch of prospects for, or she. Again, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. Whoever Mile High wants, this is the thing. If you don't want to make a move for that player, that's fine. Then don't make a move. The one thing that irritated me of all of these comments, because he's got like a million of them over there. That's sarcasm, by the way, before he or she goes, I don't have a million. I have 6 or whatever it is. When he goes, you're just trying to make Matt Arnold look bad. Man, this has nothing to do with Matt Arnold. I'm just saying, I understand why they can't go make a gigantic move for somebody making a ton of money. I get that. So in order to get this done, it's going to have to be like Stearns, where you make a move for a Christian Yelich, who's under team control, younger, and you give up 4 or 5 prospects to go get that one done. And when they gave up all of that for Yelich, there were people that thought they gave up too much for Christian Yelich at that point. And then later that day, they signed Lorenzo Cain. And what did they do there? They overpaid Cain. They gave him a 5th year. Nobody else was giving him a 5th year, so he took it to come back to Milwaukee. That's what Stearns did. Matt Arnold hasn't had his moment yet. He will. He will. It's in his personality. He's going to have a go-for-it move at some point, and it very well could be an overpay at some point. It's just a matter of who it's for and when it happens, Charlotte.
Well, and Christian Yelich, when they traded for him, was 25 years old, coming off a 3.7 WAR season, almost identical to what we were just talking about with James Wood.
3.4 for Wood, right?
He had 18 home runs that season, 81 RBIs, 16 stolen bases, and was a much better defender. It was just almost as valuable as James Wood is now. And he wasn't an all-star, but you also had a lot of other players on that Miami team specifically that were getting that all-star recognition over a guy like him. And then they blew it up around him. They got rid of Marcell Ozuna. They got rid of Giancarlo Stanton. They had all these issues with the pitching staff that they moved on from some guys, lost a couple other guys. But he was a player that is at that same level as James Wood, and they gave up a big prospect package to go and get him, and it didn't work out for the Marlins, and it worked pretty damn well for the Brewers. Try this again. Why not? You have more value in your farm system than you did when you traded for Christian Yelich even. Just go and take that shot. If it's available, and I get what you're saying, he's not going to be that available. He's getting talked about, but that doesn't mean he's going to get traded. At the same time, if you're a team like the Brewers that has really nothing to lose in this scenario, go out and try to make that move.
As I've said before, and I will say it again, when you are in professional sports, unless there's a hard cap where you financially just can't take a person on, right? Unless there's that, which is not the case here, everybody has a price. Everybody. You can make it the price so big that they can't say no, right? The Herschel Walker deal. The Vikings made that price so big, Cowboys couldn't say no. It was ridiculous. They way overpaid, right? I guarantee you the Cowboys were like, oh, yeah, we're definitely trading him. No, it was so over the top, they had to trade him. They couldn't say no. That's what the Bucs, according to reports, are waiting for on Giannis. You want him? Overpay. No, we'll keep him, and we'll just roll and see what happens, right? So if they want him, when you have the number 1 farm system in baseball, you can go overpay prospects-wise with a major leaguer or two to get anybody you legitimately want if you just keep telling them, all right, how about this guy at the top of it? How about this guy? How about that guy? And all of a sudden, you're 5 prospects in. They're going to say yes, especially when you're a team that's not close to winning anything and you're trying to rebuild that farm system like they are. It's not like if the Nationals were like 2nd or 3rd in their farm system and their future was coming like the Brewers, then I'd say, yeah, Brewers don't have enough because now they're looking for major league quality, major league talent, star talent to come back in exchange because they want to compete for the playoffs next year. Okay, fine. Then you're right. Brewers can't compete. In this scenario, the Brewers can compete because they have enough talent that can restock their farm system. That Zach Greinke deal that the Brewers made when they went and got him from the Royals, right? Lorenzo Cain, Alcides Escobar, all those guys. That helped give them the chance to go to the World Series. They used those players to go to 2 World Series and win 1 with the former manager, Ned Yost. But that was a big deal. Now, did it pay off for the Brewers? Did the Brewers win the World Series with Zach Greinke? No. Did they go to the World Series with Zach Greinke? No. But did it fix the issue they had, a frontline guy? Yes. And they had him for a couple of years. And again, depending on what you were wanting it to be, to me, I'm not mad about that deal that Doug Melvin made. I'm fine with that deal. Melvin did it multiple times. That was the offseason on him. Then he went and got Sean Markham as well that offseason. So he added 2 stars to the front of the rotation. He's the one that got the Sabathia deal. So eventually, Matt Arnold's going to have to do something here. At some point, he's going to have to be like, okay, we're close enough. Now I'm going to go. And in this case, this all-in move isn't for now. This all-in move is for the next 4 to 5 years with this core. You're adding a potential superstar to the core guys that you have coming that are more potential superstars.
Right.
Mate could be a superstar. Churio could be a superstar. Fisher looks like he might be a
Bryce
star
Train
player.
keeps playing the way he does and improving like he does.
Kratz brought up a possible MVP candidate when he was on the show
William
last
Contreras, when he's healthy, is one of the, if not the best catcher in baseball.
He's not going to be here, though, long term.
You never know.
Yeah, but
if they trade Cuero, like we were saying.
Sure. But again, I mean, that's what we're talking about. Again, all fired up and yelling at me about this. Again, I didn't come up with thin air, man. It was in the Athletic. His name was one of the names brought up by these front office guys around Major League Baseball. And I sat there, started thinking, I was like, hot damn. Like, that guy fits in perfectly with the Brewers timeline. And even if they criticize Arnold for giving up too much, who cares? It's a middle of the order bat that you do not have a guy with that power that's an outfielder in this system right now. You don't have him. Adam Shefsky's a really good hitter. He don't have that type of power that's going to come up here and do what you're asking him to do.
I think as long as if you're a Brewers fan and the Brewers are keeping Jackson Churio, Jesus Madej, and Jacob Mizorowski, you should be happy. And they're going to do that in this prospective trade.
Yes.
So be happy.
Exactly. See, I wasted a whole segment. That's why I asked you, should I have addressed that or
I like
not?
when you get fired up.
And
man.
now
It's
I
hilarious.
addressed it, and we wasted a whole nother segment on
I didn't think you were going to yell at him that long.
we did at 3 o'clock.
I didn't think you were going to yell that long. You were mild today. I thought you were going to stay mild, you know?
I was all right watching along until he was like, oh, you're just trying to get people mad at Matt Arnold. Then I was like, okay, now I'm done. Okay. Because that's the last thing I was trying to do. I was just trying to show everybody that this team is loaded and they can go get anybody they want when they want. And they have the ability to overpay and literally get anybody. Whether or not they'll ever do that, I don't know. But they literally have that opportunity right now. And to me, you could say giving up 5 prospects for one that doesn't play defense, like Mile High Ty said, is a roll of the dice. That's a gamble. Okay, maybe it is. But, man, you can't win if you don't play the game. You got to be able to play the game to see if you win or not. And that's what happens when you go to the Potawatomi Casino Hotel, right? Roll the dice, bet out a game or two when you're there. Potawatomi Sportsbook. Man, can you feel it? The thrill of witnessing a walk-off grand slam. Be nice to watch James Wood hit one of Brewers uniform. Game-winning touchdown. A buzzer-beating 3. You know the feeling. And there's only one place to experience that raw exhilaration. The Potawatomi Sportsbook. Catch all the action in a supreme space with dozens of sports betting kiosks right there off of the parking garage. You walk off, you've got right there the kiosk right there to your right side. When you walk in off the walkway, the skywalk. It is perfect right there for you. Cool drinks, 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails, luxury seating, gigantic booths fit like 8 to 10 people. High tabletops. They got regular single recliner looking chairs as well. Great food, fiery atmosphere, and a monster video wall, 2,000 square feet. Over 30 sporting events at one time. Check them out today at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Reserve your seat ahead of time, especially with all the college basketball getting ready to get played here next month and a half. That way you know you won't be standing. There's a ton of seating. They're going to be slammed, right? So make sure to reserve your seat ahead of time. Go to Potawatomi.com. Must be 21 of age or older to enter the casino. All right, so now we got to push it back. So green and gold update. Try number 2 comes up next. Wisconsin Sports Daily. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. Powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Fiver here. Charlie, use over there. We'll get to the green and gold update. But I'm going to sidetrack us again one more time here.
Don't say that again.
Yeah, I'm going to sidetrack us again. So I don't know if Charlie remembers this or not, but so at some point last year, I think, we were talking about like what TV shows really like watching and so forth. And I was talking about the fact that we don't, in our house, we really don't watch scripted TV at all. Like, we really don't. The only scripted TV show that Kay and I watch is Happy's Place. And that's only because
I don't even know what that is.
Happy's Place. It's Reba McEntire half-hour, like comedy show type deal. And she only puts up with it because I want to watch it. She's like, fine, we'll watch it, whatever. She laughs once in a while. So for the most part, we watch a lot of like Food Network, Magnolia TV, HGTV, like those type of shows for the most part, right? So my favorite show by far that started a few years ago is Tournament of Champions on the Food Network. Guy Fieri is the host of it. And you have all of these different chefs competing against each other and so forth. And they've done it for the last, what is it now? 5 years, I think it's been, or 6 years. Maybe this is year 7. I don't know. So last year, I think it was, they started this play-in tournament like basketball does, and they have so many spots and they try to play in. So last night was night 1 of the play-in tournament, and one of the guys that was in the play-in tournament was Chef Dan Jacobs, who is from Milwaukee and owns Dan Dan, and he was really good. He was on Top Chef when they were in Milwaukee and so forth, and he beat a chef from Chicago last night. So now he gets into the main bracket for Tournament of Champions. So if any of y'all have any interest in checking that out, it's on Sunday nights, and it's really, really good. Now he's probably going to get matched up against a 1 or a 2 seed, so it's going to be tough. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. It's the first time we've had anybody locally involved in this thing, and yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You ever watch Crime Scene Kitchen? That's my favorite show to watch right now.
Scene Kitchen. No.
It's where like a bunch of chefs, half of them are trained, half of them are like professional. They go into a kitchen where something was already baked and they look at all the clues in the kitchen and try to recreate what they think was baked in the kitchen based on the clues. It's fun.
Oh, yeah. That sounds fun.
Like
what channel is that on?
That's a good question. We watch it on Tubi right now. So
Tubi.
Fox, I want to say. I think they have Fox
app.
rights. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we watch Top Level. what is it called?
Next Level Kitchen.
Next Level
Yeah, I've
Kitchen.
seen that
Yeah,
one too.
that's Next Level Chef. Yeah, that's really good. We watch that with Gordon Ramsay. That's a lot of fun as well. So yeah, that's what we do. But I saw Dan Jacobs out there last night.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's pretty cool.
local tie-in for Wisconsin. Everybody
Dan.
get down and root for it. So definitely should check that out if you're looking for something to watch on Sunday nights. I kind of really want to get him on the show, for being honest.
Do it. I'm down for that. It's a competition,
dude,
so it's a sport. He's sweating a little bit.
I have so many questions about that show. Like, so many questions that I'd have of, like, behind the scenes stuff and all of that.
Get them on. You do that all the time. You're just getting on a random person that you just feel like having not. So, like, when you drove by Sparky's Motorsports, you got Sparky
I got
to
the
come on
driver.
show.
I got the driver of the car to come on the show. That's exactly right. I was like, Sparky Motorsports, what? We got the driver on the show, which was pretty cool. Okay, Green and Gold update time, brought to you by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. So, Charlie, we'll go over to you. The Dolphins decided to start cutting some cap space open for themselves, getting rid of some dead weight, I guess you could say. And Jeff Hafley, obviously the new head coach in Miami, and is going to be in a pretty sizable rebuild, which is good for Hafley because there's no pressure on Jeff Hafley then to have to win right away for the Miami Dolphins. Who did the Dolphins get rid of today?
The Miami Dolphins, the biggest name that they released was Tyreek Hill, former Super Bowl champion, future Hall of Famer, most likely, a guy that was dealing with a torn ACL and dislocated knee this past season, coming off that injury. He's going into probably one of his last couple of seasons here. They released also Bradley Chubb, defensive end, a guy who has not really met expectations since he got drafted, but is a serviceable defensive end. James Daniels, offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, guard center, used to play for the Chicago Bears. Again, has not really met expectations since he's made it to the NFL, but has been a starter throughout his career. And then Nick Westbrook-Ikine, another wide receiver, a guy that not most people are interested in at this point. And Tua Tagovailoa is currently on the trade market. It looks like he's either going to get traded or cut. Probably will not be a part of this team by that.
Isn't his dead cap number like damn near 100 million?
Yeah, they don't care. Apparently, they want to move on from him. It's about 50-50 according to Jordan Schultz right now about what they're going to do. He's not going to be on this team, most likely.
They're going to... I mean, I can't even imagine what they're going to have available as far as players.
Some team's going to trade for him.
They're going to have a bunch of street free agents off the drafts lining up to play on that football team. Now, this is something... to me, because the question is, they release Hill, Chubb, and Daniels. Which of those three would you want, if any of them, at this point, if you're the Green Bay Packers? Nikolai Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. I kind of looked at this a different way, I guess, and that is they need wide receivers. They've got Jalen Waddle. That's it. And they don't have money either at this point. You just wonder whether or not Jeff Hafley will have interest in some of the wide receivers currently in Green Bay and trying to pull a deal to give the Packers some more draft capital here. Because remember,
Romeo Dobbs.
Well, Dobbs is a free agent, so
they just bring him in. That's what I'm saying.
They could sign him, but it doesn't sound like they're going to have any money. They're cutting the whole team. They're not going to have money. It's going to have to be somebody that's not as expensive.
And none of these players, the ones at least the Packers would be interested in, will go against the compensatory pick kind of process.
Right.
So all these guys are free of like any kind of charge to the team that signs them.
Correct. Now, Tyreek Hill would be amazing, but I don't want to deal with the dude. Like, I think he's got uber amount of talent and speed left, but I don't want the dude in the locker room. So that's my hang up on him. Chubb is fun. But that's only fun if I can get that on a relatively minimal deal, on a prove-it-like one-year deal. And I'd want to find out, is there any connection, any way, shape, or form between him and Micah Parsons? Like, do they have an agent? Do they have a common friend? Like, is there anything that connects those two guys together? Because if you're going to move on from Rashawn Gary, this makes sense to roll the dice cheaply on a guy that's had success in the NFL and see if you can catch lightning in a bottle for a year, and you sell to him your chance to go compete for a Super Bowl. You're going to start on the opposite side of Micah Parsons. You should have more than enough opportunities. You're not going to be the guy that everybody's looking at to double team. You're going to have way more opportunities to get to the quarterback. Now, that I would be interested in. Now, James Daniels, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm some expert on James Daniels. I am not an expert on James Daniels one way or the other. Having said that, why don't you Google Pro Football Focus what his grade was this year? I'd be interested in that.
He did not play a lot this season. I know he got hurt pretty early.
What was it last year then? Google 2024. This is the thing about Daniels. So regardless if it's him, if it's Linderbaum from the Ravens or whoever, the Packers have to make a decision. And by the way, Ryan Wood will join us lead off the show tomorrow at 2:00 of the Green Bay Press Gazette Packers beat writer. He's got this whole series going on, grading out all the different position groups and all this fun stuff. So we'll talk to him. But they're going to need a center. So if they cut Elgton Jenkins, like is expected, and if Sean Ryan goes and gets himself a pretty sizable deal to go be a starting guard somewhere, they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do. I would assume, you know what happens when you assume, but I would assume that they would sign a veteran center to come in here and play with Jordan Love on a 3 or 4 year deal, whoever that may be, versus having an inexperienced center, an inexperienced left tackle, an inexperienced right guard potentially, right? And then you have a veteran right tackle and a veteran left guard. Like that's just a lot to try to overcome at this point. Now, Escalade got some run this year at guard, so he's not completely inexperienced, but still doesn't even have a full year starting at right guard to be all that confident that he's not going to make mistakes going into next season.
James Daniels, 2025 only played 3 snaps for the Miami Dolphins. In 2024, only played in 3 and 1 series games with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The year before that, 2023 was his last full season. He had a 60.5 pass blocking grade and a 58.6 run blocking grade. Has not had kind of an overall great season since he was with the Chicago Bears. That was 2021 was his last season with them. He had a 71.8 overall grade, which is pretty good, but also had 9 total penalties that season.
I'm out. Never mind. Don't want him. Just take him off the question. So that really becomes Hill or Chubb at that point, and depending which way you want to go. Again, Hill is fun, but I don't want the dude. Chubb is one I'd be interested in only if it comes on a minimal deal. How about you? Which one of these guys would you want, if any of them? Maybe you say no to all of them. Nicolay Law Talk text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250 on the socials at WI Sports Radio. Charlie, what say you?
How much did you like Matthew Golden's last game of the season? Do you feel confident that he's going to come in and be easily in the top 3 wide receivers of this team?
History of the Packers says he'll have a breakout year this year.
Okay.
So, yes.
I would say I don't want Tyreek Hill then. I think if you bring in a Tyreek Hill, I think he easily kind of fills in whatever role Matthew Golden you eventually want him to play. I think he plays that deep route. He's going to play over the middle a lot, especially in the deeper part of the field, which is when you watch Matthew Golden this season with the Green Bay Packers, exactly how the Packers were using him for the majority of the year when they did use him, that is. I think this is a situation where you need that second pass rusher to at least complement Micah Parsons a little bit. Rashawn Gary just didn't do that enough this season for that team, and you need to go out and get a Bradley Chubb. I think it's easy with that.
I think the other part about this with Tyreek Hill is if you were to go get a Tyreek Hill, again, I don't feel like he fits this culture, but if you were to do something crazy like that, then you would probably consider trading a Jaden Reed or somebody like that to another team to get draft capital. I really believe that this Packers football team is going to be talking about how do we add draft capital in this upcoming draft. That's going to be a thing. So if you get Tyreek Hill, maybe Jaden Reed gets traded. Maybe he's out the door, and it's Hill, Golden, and Christian Watson as your 3 wide receivers, which would give you 3 burners that can stretch the field, Hill and Golden with the crossing routes and all that other stuff that goes along with it. It would really kind of change how this offense looks and would give Jordan Love the opportunity to really, open up the field a little bit more than he did already. And then you add Tucker Kraft coming back to this mix as well. I'm scared of the person. That's what I don't want in that locker room. Johnny, north side of Milwaukee, you're next on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line. Which one of these guys would you want from the Dolphins that got released today, Johnny?
It got to be Chubb, right? It got to be Chubb. I call in all the time and I say one player can't mean that much. I believe Chubb can pick up some of that slack. He is that type of player the Packers need. But I think the Packers should do something very non-Packer like. And why don't you get Chubb and Tyreek? I'm just scared of Tyreek's health. Like, the knee injury receiver, is that speed going to still be there? If everything checks out and we can get them for an affordable price, yeah, I feel like, do something out the ordinary, because the ordinary is not working. It continues to not work. So Packers should do something out the ordinary. Yeah, go for the pickings, try to get Chubb. He makes the most sense. I mean, our defense in every way, shape, form, and possible needs to help. And I can only imagine the Parsons and, Chubb, can get loose with the Parsons help. And yeah, get Tyreek. Like, it can't hurt. Can't be any worse than it was on our bad days, So, yeah, that's about it.
All
that's
right.
all I have to say.
I appreciate it, Johnny. Thanks for the call. This is the thing. In 23, with the Dolphins, he had 11 sacks. Tore his ACL, missed all of 24. So now you're 1 year off the torn ACL, right? And what do they normally say about this? It's normally the second year is really when you get back to where you were. He had 8.5 sacks last year coming off that first year. That already is Rashawn Gary. So if you cut Rashawn Gary, you get him on a minimal deal, you come out ahead in this deal if you're able to do it.
Yeah, I would agree so. I mean, again, Rashawn Gary was such a negative in the second half of the season. Yes, statistically, he matches up all right with what Bradley Chubb did, but you just saw the non-impact he made for this team when Micah Parsons was not on the field, and that is just egregious. I think you could kind of put almost anybody into that spot, and Bradley Chubb is the cream of that crop right now to give you something else, at least get those 8.5 sacks over the course of an entire season, not within 4 games and then just give up playing for the rest of the year.
Correct. If you look at their numbers between Chubb and Rashawn Gary, Chubb ended up with 1 more sack than Gary, and the rest of the numbers are pretty much close. 7 tackle for losses for Rashawn Gary. Bradley Chubb had 8 tackle for losses. Sacks, combined sacks, 47 total for Chubb, 45 for Rashawn Gary. They're relatively close. The question, again, to me on this one is there some type of connection between Micah Parsons and him one way or the other? If there is, and we feel like Micah Parsons can be that motivating force for him to open things up, I think that's a big, big deal. CB, downtown Milwaukee, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily. What's going on?
What's going on, man? Me, myself, I don't want none of them because they come from a kind of a loser mentality.
They do?
I want somebody that's got a winning mentality. My 2 free agent pickups I really want them to do is Kenny Clark, because the Cowboys said they're probably going to end up cutting him. So bring him back, and the tight end from Cleveland, David Akua.
Yeah, I don't mind him. The problem is, if you're the Packers, do you go and spend money on the position where you're set probably for the next several years in Tucker Kraft?
Yeah, but you don't know how Tucker Kraft gonna come back after that knee injury.
It's true.
I mean, that's just a wish and a hope.
Yeah, that's true.
Somebody that can, come in there, boom, it can be a tag team type thing. So bring back Kenny Clark though for sure.
All right, thanks for the call. So Njoku, I'm not there on him. Kenny Clark, I think they're going to cut him. And then try to re-sign him is what it looks like to me, because I believe that number is $21 million, but I don't believe any of it's guaranteed. So because of that, they can cut him free and clear and then re-sign him and bring him back to stay in Dallas with the Cowboys at a more manageable number for the Dallas Cowboys. So that's how I think that one is going to play out. Would I be opposed to Kenny Clark coming back to Green Bay? No, I'd be fine with Kenny Clark coming back to Green Bay if that's the route they want to go. But again, add a cheaper contract. That has to be part of this. If you're the Packers, you should not have to be in a position to overpay anybody to come here and play. You should be in the position of, do you want a ring chase? Yes, we're your place. Like, you can be that missing piece that helps us get over the hump to go win a Super Bowl ring with Jordan Love. Like, we are right there on the doorstep. We just need another piece or two to cross. And we know Micah Parsons is out there recruiting everybody, including George Pickens. So see what you can do.
Well, and I think to CB's point, though, at the same time, yes, you want to go and get players that want to ring chase, want to be a part of this talent, but you also don't want to bring in players that are going to hurt a locker room that seems like they have a really good connection right now, where a lot of them are bought into each other, bought into the coaching staff. And I think that's something you have to manage at this point, especially with such a young team that's on the field too, that if you bring in one guy that changes the dynamic of the ecosystem on this team, that's going to be something that's going to send waves through the entire roster because there's a lot of impressionable players, a lot of guys still trying to find their name and place in this league. You don't want to add a Tyreek Hill who could potentially be that type of guy. Tyreek Hill and Micah Parsons don't have that close of a connection, but they're both like streamers. I know you kind of know what that is at this point, but they have been like live streaming together. They're kind of friends. They're not close friends, but they have a relationship.
I still don't know about Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's entertaining. It is. I just don't think I trust the dude. Charlie, use it over there. See Sparky Fiber with you. Coming up next, Things Sparky Miss, brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals, is coming up next. Definitely want to stay tuned for that. And don't forget, it's the thrill of witnessing a walk-off grand slam, a game-winning touchdown, a buzzer-beating 3. You know the feeling. There's only one place to experience that raw exhilaration. My place, Potawatomi Sportsbook, baby. Catch all the action in a supreme space with dozens of sports betting kiosks, cool drinks, 48 different beers on tap, a dozen different specialty cocktails, luxury seating, 2 levels, great food, fiery atmosphere, and a monster video wall with the 2,000 square foot screen and over 30 sporting events shown at one time. Only at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, best in the Midwest. More info at Potawatomi.com. Reserve your seat ahead of time now. These conference tournaments and all that fun stuff coming up in March. Get there and reserve your seat ahead of time. Nominal fee for food and beverage. Trust me, it's worth it. Spend that money anyhow. More info at Potawatomi.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Still to come, Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up with Tommy Wirtz from 5 to 6. That's Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie Usen. How y'all doing on a Monday? Feels good. I don't know how long it's going to be before we get sustained warm weather. But here in southeastern Wisconsin, I'm not sure Duluth, Superior, Green Bay, what y'all have, but we're in like mid-60s today down here. And even though I've been inside most of the day, it's nice.
Drove in with my windows down because I don't have air conditioning, but also because I like driving in with my windows down.
Yeah.
It was nice. Yeah, it's always nice. We're supposed to be back to 30s next week, I think. But throughout this week, we're supposed to stay warm, maybe get a little rain, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Better than snow, right?
Exactly.
Better than snow
better.
At this point. All right, let's get to what we always do here. Got a text coming in, the Nicolay Law Talk text line 262. Calling back to what we were talking about the last time about Tucker Kraft. I think we do know Kraft is going to come back 110%. The next Kittle, that kid wants the ball. I agree with you. I think so too. Physically, that's the question. But I think there's less questions on Tucker Kraft coming back than there is on Zach Tom coming back right now at right tackle. We're talking about past issues with players coming back from certain injuries. I think Zach Tom is maybe more of a question, even though the Packers act like it's not. That would be my question mark there, right? You agree?
I think so. I think with Tucker Kraft, this type of injury, you're done. You're off the field. You don't get used to playing with this type of injury. Zach Tom played through multiple injuries and was getting used to playing with those multiple injuries. When you have that surgery and you have to take time off, it's kind of hard to get your self back to that 110% when you've practiced and played in a different style this whole time. It's a completely different situation.
No, I agree with you on that. Okay, things that we missed on today's show. So you have baseball coming up with this ABS system, automated ball strike system. And you're going to have the catchers allowed to challenge balls and strikes. And I was listening to Tommy Wirtz this morning. He filled in for Trevor Thomas on Inside Wisconsin Sports because Trevor Thomas was off today. He's back tomorrow. Him and Josh will be back at it again tomorrow. But they were having this conversation, and Tommy was making it sound like you have no idea how long these games are going to get. Like, they're going to be challenging left and right, and these games are going to get extended out, and it's going to be an issue. So I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but that's his fear listening to him talk about this. I didn't really have a fear on it one way or the other until I read yesterday that apparently when you're watching the game, you know how you'll see the little square come up on the TV screen, and it'll give you the quadrants, and then it'll show you where the ball is. And then if the ball is low, you get mad. That was a strike. What are you doing? And the ball's, that was a horrible call, right? Well, apparently they're getting rid of that. You're not going to get that anymore because they have the ABS system. So now you're not going to see. Now, I'm going to tell you why I have an issue with this because I have multiple issues. Number one, from a perspective of fan enjoyment, that has been part of our fan enjoyment watching that for the last however many years it's been. Like the first time it was on, I was like, whoo, this is cool. I like this watching. Okay, so first of all, I think it's going to make fans mad because they're not going to be able to watch the way they want. But I'll tell you the other thing. They're not going to like it when they don't get to see what they're getting to see. And then you're going to have all the conspiracy theories of where the pitch was and why we didn't challenge. Because think about it from this perspective. If I see it and the catcher doesn't challenge and it's blatantly low, then you'd be like, dude, William, like there was 4 chances in that game to challenge. You didn't challenge any of them. What's going on? Now what you do is you take that element away. So what they're doing to a certain degree is protecting themselves and protecting the players on this challenge system from the fans and the media who will have nothing to guide it on. What I want to know, because they said they're taking it off the TV screen, what I did not see is, are they taking this game cast away as well? Because if you watch the game cast on MLB or whatever, you get the same strike box and you see the type of pitch that it is. And again, there's a human being typing this in, so they're guessing, but you see the type of pitch that it is, and then where the pitch is located. So if you're taking it off of the TV, then by God, you ought to be taking it off of all these websites and saying that pitch by pitch stuff, we're getting rid of that too, because we don't want issue with that. Because if you don't get rid of it, then the media will just have that up on their laptop and we'll be watching it from that perspective.
I think you're looking at this the wrong way. I don't think the MLB is worried about the media and the fans getting on them about players missing this or protecting the players or anything. I think they're trying to avoid people in the dugouts watching the broadcast with the game and the box on it and saying immediately to their pitcher, to their catcher, challenge that over and over again.
Right.
And I think with the app, the side of it there is that doesn't get updated nearly as fast as watching the game on a television. So you run out of that window to challenge a pitch in that time frame while you're waiting for the app to upload. So it's not as necessary for the team to stop them from looking at that app versus on the TV where you can just abuse the system over and over again, where this makes it truly the catcher has to decide, did I frame that well enough? Did I get that in the spot? Did the pitcher get in the spot? The pitcher has to decide. It's not up to a team of 3 interns in the dugout that are watching the game on a TV to tell the coach to then yell to the pitcher or the catcher that he needs to challenge that.
So Jake in West Bend texts into the Nicolay Law Talk text line, says the rectangle is still there, just not signaling ball or strike with a filled in circle. Okay, but I can, if it's still there, then what Charlie is saying, they're still going to see it. The same thing is going to happen to what Charlie is saying, which is they're going to be challenging left and right. And again, if I'm a beat writer, even if it's delayed and I see potentially 10, 12, 15 opportunities where things should have been called and they're not, do you know what else is going to happen? You write this down. There's going to be a website that's going to keep track of how many blown challenges that were not challenged by catchers. That is going to be a metric that is going to be ranked across baseball, like pitch framing, all that stuff. There's now going to be another metric of what percentage of challenges, were called versus not called in different situations. That is going to be a whole nother advanced stat metric.
Probably. I just don't know how quickly that is going to take hold as an important statistic for catchers. I think that's something where, again, because you have this ABS system where they can just automatically tell you balls or strikes, framing doesn't matter as much, all these other things, that I think it's really just going to go more towards the offensive side where people are going to start watching catchers more closely, unlike they were doing in the past.
I'm interested to see how this all plays out. I really am, because I think there's going to be a whole new world that's going to be opened up here for baseball fans, for writers, for new websites, for new stats. All of this stuff is going to come along with it. It just is. And now when William Contreras goes to sign a new deal in 2 years, and if he's one of the worst as far as challenging ball strike calls in Major League Baseball and continuously is missing it, you don't think that's going to come up? Absolutely, it's going to come up if I'm an opposing GM talking to his agent. Man, he's cost the Brewers like 60 opportunities to challenge in the last 2 years. Like that's
can William Contreras and his agents go, the pitchers didn't call a challenge either. The pitchers were saying they're not doing their job either. Why is it all on me?
You essentially could say that. Absolutely right. Way to throw your pitcher under the bus, Charlie. That'll do it for Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Wisconsin Sports wrap up with a birthday boy. Tommy Wirtz comes up here from 5 until 6. Enjoy the rest of your night. Ryan Wood, Green Bay Packers beat writer from the Green Bay Press Gazette, leads off the show tomorrow at 2.